This is the Patriot, and you're watching my interview at newscott.com.
All right, I'm back here with another New Scott interview, and today in studio, his studio apartment, we have Patriot, the American Patriot. How you doing today?
Man, I'm good. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to my home.
Thank you for having me. Today we're going to do a little bit different. We'll get into some regular questions as well, but you're a trainer. You've trained a couple of classes of students here. So I thought, I've had this idea for a while, but I didn't really know who to do it with. There's only a handful of people around that I think is knowledgeable enough to do it with. You're obviously one of those people because you are world traveled and have already trained some students. So we're going to go over, like, I get a lot of messages, and I'm sure you get a dozen times more of, like, I want to be a wrestler. Yeah. What do I do? Yeah. So we're going to cover that today in the hopes maybe it'll answer some of these questions for some people.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
So when someone contacts you and tells you they want to be a wrestler, what's your first thought?
Awesome. I want to be one too. You know? I want to be a wrestler too, man. Wrestling's great. Honestly, I'm at a point where I get so many messages, and not to be like, ugh, I'm so popular, but dude, there's a lot of people that message me saying they want to be a wrestler. Honestly, I just analyze each message very carefully. If it's somebody that's sending me like a message, terrible grammar, like it's not very well articulated, I'm like, okay. So, you know, I'll lay it out. I provide like the very basic information at least. You know, I don't want to, you know, speak down to anybody or make anybody feel bad. That's, you know, I have no right to do that. Nobody really does. But I mean, you know, I just tell them, okay, well, you know, this is what I'm going to be running a course. This is what to expect. This is what I'd like you to be able to do upon arrival, should you choose to do it. And then I'll allow them to follow up with more questions for more information.
Okay, this probably should have been my first question, but what was it that you considered yourself being able to train people? The old rule of thumb in wrestling is that you have to have made a living in professional wrestling. You have to have the experience. You have to have a certain amount of matches and all this stuff. What was it about it that you considered yourself on that level to be able to train somebody?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, man. It took a long time. I am of the old school belief, if you will, that, you know, you need to have a certain level of experience, you need to have certain credentials, certain capabilities. Based on my time in the business at that point when I did my first class, I was 10 years in with 2 international tours under my belt. I wasn't like living in a palace and driving a Lamborghini as a result of wrestling, but there were times in my life when it was my only source of income. Not only that, but it's like now, you know, I'm doing okay, and wrestling plays a part in that as well. So not only that, like not only my capability, not only the fact that I felt like I had earned the right to do it through my experience and also my tenure, but also I think my ability to be empathetic, my ability to be, you know, forthcoming with people. Mm-hmm. I can be relatively objective with people, and sometimes that may elicit an unfavorable response in the sense that, you know, you tell somebody the truth and it's not their perception of the truth. Right. So, you know, maybe it's just my perception. Maybe I'm wrong. But you know, it's one of these things like, okay, this is what I see. This is what I feel could be better. Let's work on it together. If somebody's my student, my primary objective is to make sure that they're capable in a locker room and in a ring when I'm not around. You know, that's from the time they show up to the building to shake hands, help people, you know, just not be a clown. You know, don't be a clown. I say to every class, I have 2 very important rules. Rule number 1, safety first. Rule number 2, no yeah buts. And just like, you know, if somebody's going to take the time to provide you with information, even if it's somebody that you might not want to receive that information from, they're taking their time out of their life to give you advice that will absolutely have no benefit to them unless there's somebody that likes to hear themselves speak. Regardless, thank you. You know, that's all you have to say. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Because time you can't get back. You know?
Did you receive any backlash from any of the veteran wrestlers that had run schools here before? Like your trainer, obviously Wildman Gary Williams was a trainer here, yeah. Or someone like Brody Steele or Cowboy Mike Hughes, who were probably at that time, or even still, the only tenured wrestlers in the Maritimes. There's a couple of guys that probably will be in a few years.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
at that point, it was just those three, really.
Yeah, and I consulted with Gary first, just because if he had any intentions of running schools going forward, I didn't want to step on his toes. I have so much respect for him, so that wasn't even an option. With regards to Peter and Mike, completely supportive. They've shown me a lot more respect than I think sometimes that I may see myself as deserving of. But I mean, Peter's done seminars at my school and asked me to assist him. Mm-hmm. Same with Mike, and they've shown me a lot of things that it's like, oh wow, that's really interesting, and I use those lessons to help my students grow. But no backlash whatsoever, and I'm really grateful for that because I don't need another fucking headache.
There's 20 of those as it is.
Oh my goodness.
Wrestling. So that person emails you. You said you send back like the basic information.
Yeah.
What's the basic information you send back?
Yeah, basic information. I thank them first of all for writing. Just kind of let them know, like, generally my courses run from 12 to 16 weeks, Saturdays and Sundays, this time to this time. My expectations are that, you'll be able to do these basic physical feats, such as like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, etc. An athletic background is encouraged. And basically it's like, I'll leave it for them to get back to me. And if somebody gets back to me, okay, how much it cost? That's generally like the 4-letter or 4-word response I get, how much it costs. I'm like, well, I just tell them the cost of the course. Yep. And I just say very, very upfront, like, that's not an all upfront payment. We can definitely make arrangements because, I mean, it's, like I said, I'm empathetic. People might not have that much money up front, but you have to assess too, you can't just accept anybody.
Right.
So there's varying degrees of response that people will get.
You mentioned an athletic background. What should somebody be able to do that wants to join your class?
Honestly, man, I played hockey and baseball till I was like in my early teens and stuff. So I was, I was no star athlete. But having said that, it's like train hard and like have wind, just make an effort. Be able to do push-ups, sit-ups, squats, be able to do shoulder rolls and stuff without being so gassed that you get sick or so gassed that you need to waste other people's time. At least have some physical capability of doing a somersault or anything, and it should go without saying. You see wrestling on TV, and if you can't tell that that's an extremely athletically demanding endeavor, then that's on you. I can't. Well, let me rephrase. I was going to say I can't be the bearer of bad news, but many times in the past I've been the bearer of bad news, and as a result, people are like, "Troy's an asshole."
Right.
It's like, okay, sorry.
Now, does that go for like everybody? Because in wrestling, you would like all different types of like personalities and body types.
Of course.
If everybody was just a thin dude that could do a million flips. But what if somebody that came in that was like overweight or like a bodybuilder type guy?
Yeah.
Those guys aren't necessarily like are going to like. I'll use this guy as an example just because that's what came to my mind. Someone like Yokozuna. He wasn't going to do like front rolls probably at however he was. Like, do you make an exception for something like that?
Absolutely. It'd be silly not to.
Yeah. And would you accept somebody like?
Yeah, I
like
have.
That? Yeah.
Truthfully, man, yeah, absolutely. If somebody has something to offer, of course. Right. If somebody's like 2 Riddick Stones, but they have a hard time getting into the ring, it's like, well, I think we can find something for you to do.
Right.
I think there's value there. I think people would be drawn to him.
Yeah, like that John guy. I think his name was
John. Yeah,
he was
John Bellew.
Yeah, he was huge, but I doubt he would be able to do a lot of the super athletic stuff, right?
Yeah, but he's a big, strong boy,
Yeah.
and like I mean, should he have continued to pursue it? Who knows?
Yeah.
But if he came through my door at the training school, he would be welcome.
Yeah.
I'd shake his hand and say hello.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
So you accept students and turn students away, like before they even step into your school?
Yeah, I mean, turn people away is a bit of a harsh term. It's safe to say that like I can assess people based on the interactions we have prior to them arriving. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the term ghosting?
Yeah.
I pretty much ghost people that like I don't think. And I'm not very picky.
Yeah.
You know, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But there's just some people where it's like so far gone, it's like, I'm gonna ghost you. I can't. There's nothing I can do here.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing I can do, and that's that. You know, period.
So walking into your school day one, is there a certain amount of students you would accept per class? Do you like to cut it off at a certain number? Or,
Oh yeah, I mean, like,
or if 20 students wanted to join up, or would you do 20 students?
I don't think I'd do 20 students. I don't think that would allow for enough individualized attention. I really like to develop people on an individual level. I had 6 one time, and that was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot, you know.
I think all Gary had was like 4. Like
Yeah.
that was his. I don't know if he planned it that way, but that seemed to be like a great number because there was like even
Fantastic
people
number.
to work with
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
everything, right? Yeah.
But no, I mean, if there was 20 people interested, I'd make it work in the sense where I'd do like, you know, 6 in the morning, 6 at 1 o'clock, 6
Yeah.
at 3 o'clock, you know. And that would be a long day for me, but it's like, hey, you know what? That's fine. I love
Get my
wrestling.
money?
Well, it's not just the money. It's like, I like being in the ring, man. I
Yeah.
like to be able to have somebody get the chance that I had. Man, that's cool. You know, it's awesome. Like seeing somebody being able to step through the ropes for the first time. It's like there's genuine elation in that person's being. Like,
Yeah.
not to be one of those hippy dippy dudes, but it's like you can sense it. Man.
Yeah.
Like there's like an aura where they're just like, holy fuck.
I saw your training from day one to the very last day. Like you could just see it.
Yeah. So, I would accommodate for sure. I want people to be happy, you know. But I also am, again, like I said, a realist as well.
So what should someone expect walking into one of your classes day one?
Yeah, man. They'll expect sort of an orientation. I'll explain the plan, the amount of time we'll be spending. We'll stretch in to the class. We'll do some basic exercises just to warm up. Then we'll begin wrestling technique training. I'll pause at certain times so I can provide more background information on why things are done. Wrestling's a very unique form of entertainment, so sometimes you have to explain things and preface things in a certain way that might not have to be done in other industries. And I'm sorry for if I'm being vague, but at the same time, it's like, if I was to sit here and explain every intricacy of shaking hands and all this, we'd be here forever.
Yeah.
But having said that, no, I mean, just thinking caps on, have your athletic gear on, because we're going to do a bit of both, and you're going to feel amazing by the end of the day. Honestly, man, that's my thing. I want to build giants. I want to build people that, when they're around other people, they make them feel better about themselves, you know? And that's what the wrestling business needs. The wrestling business needs people that can draw a crowd, but they also need people that like can make that crowd go home happy, but also make each other go home happy. It's not a social club, but at the same time, it's like if you can make your fans feel that energy when they leave, it's like that's what I like to promote. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. No, totally. I think so anyway.
Okay.
So at the end, what is the first physical thing that you get your students to do?
This time, and usually it's a lockup. Lockup to start the match. And I'll explain the reason behind it. I'll go step by step through it. I'll do the footwork individually. I'll do the arm positioning individually. Then we put it all together. We do it a number of times. Not enough to drill it into their head so it's so overwhelming, but we cycle through each person just to make sure that they can see it done, they can observe it, then they can put it into practice. And then by day 2, my expectations for a lockup are high.
Right.
You know?
Do you, I've heard about certain trainers that won't go, they'll teach one thing one day and then they're done with that one thing. If the student needs more time on a certain thing, do you think that they should get that more time on that one thing, or do you think the whole class should just move on?
In theory, it'd be great if everybody learned at the same pace.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people need more time with certain things. I don't teach one thing a day. I think you can explain things and people should be able to catch on to maybe do like 3 or 4 things a day. Actually, I have my lesson plan right here. I'll just reach over and grab it and we'll kind of we'll talk through it.
For sure.
So my first day on 12 January of this year, it was stretch-ins, squats, sit-ups, push-ups, shoulder rolls. Then we went over lockups, overhand wrist locks, hammer locks, and go-behinds. And that was in a 2.5 hour time period.
Okay.
Then the next day, it was all the same stretch-in, all the exercises. Let me rephrase that. Actually, after the things that I showed them, we stretched out of the class as well. It's important, right? You know? Then the next day we reviewed the previous day's material and went over reversals for all of it. There's some things here that I didn't quite get into, but we went into headlocks the next day. I was a little ambitious. We went over a little bit of bumping. I didn't show getting up from a bump, which is what I'd like to do. There's a specific way to get up. You know, there's a lot to know.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't do headlock takeovers, but there's little things like that. You know, I plan for a lot. I don't squeeze it in because I don't want to just be like, okay, you know how to do that. You know, see you later. But at the same time, to drill something into somebody's head for like 3 hours, like doing a lockup, it's like, man, nobody learns like that. That's the school system, and that is a pile of shit.
Yeah.
You know?
How many students do you have this time?
3.
3. Nice.
Yeah.
So what do you think your students are expecting the first time they walk into your school? Like they 99% of them have probably never seen a wrestling ring that close before. 100% of them have probably never been in, or shouldn't have never been in a ring before. What do you think they're expecting?
Oh man, truthfully, it could range so much. They could expect to be walking in and seeing the NXT Performance Center, or like me when I broke in, your expectations are what they are. You just have a ring in a room, and that's where you learn.
A very cold room.
Yeah, have you been to the new spot?
Oh yeah,
freezing.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you know, whatever their expectations are in terms of facility, you know, I hate to say that I don't care, but like whatever.
Yeah.
As long as there's a safe ring, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of camaraderie and teaching, they should have very high expectations. Absolutely.
When you get into the more physical parts, such as bumping and teaching them how to fall, how do you approach that? Because that's something that your body's not naturally inclined to do, right? You're throwing yourself at the floor.
Yeah.
How do you go over that with them and explain that to them?
Yeah, man. Chances are, if they're coming to a wrestling school, they're somewhat familiar with watching wrestling and seeing how people fall.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but most of them. But when it comes to actually doing it, I'll demonstrate one, and then I'll individually be like, is that something you think you'd want to try off the get-go? No, and then that's like, people might be like, that's, you know, pussy, you gonna drop on their fucking head, brother. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. It's not 1979. I'm not fucking Hiro Matsuda breaking Hulk Hogan's ankle. Like, no, the business has changed, brother.
Yeah.
That said, they still get, you know, a lot of shit. But no, basically what I'll do is I usually have a guy in helping me out. I'll elaborate a bit more on that in a second, but I'll have him get down on all fours, sit them on his back, lean them back, tell them to tuck their chin, arms out to the side, let go, and just down they go. From a height about this much, you know, maybe 2 feet.
Yep.
Okay, how did that feel? It was different. Yeah, it is different. Let's do it again. And we graduate up until it's a standing squat. They shoot their hips out, then they land. Standing squat, then they land. Then it's like crouching a little bit, then they land. Then it's kick one leg out, and down you go. So it's a gradual process. I understand it's a completely unnatural movement. So as a result, I teach it, you know, like how serious it is. And the consequences of bumping incorrectly can be dire. So it's not something that I take lightly.
You really smash your head.
Oh man, there's so many, like, I think now people are starting to realize how serious concussions are. So it's important that we try to mitigate concussions and symptoms of concussions as actively as possible.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's weird, but I think it makes perfect sense. The WWE PC, they wear headgear when they learn how to bump.
Oh, really?
So so they don't smash their heads, right? Everybody's like, oh, they're weak or they're pussies or whatever. No, they're saving their brain so that they can, like, hopefully have a longer career, right?
Yeah.
So many people smash their heads on their first, second, 50th try at a bump, right?
It's almost worn as a badge of honor too.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, no, that's how I do it. It's again, I take body safety very seriously. So that's how I do it.
After learning bumps, is that when you start to realize maybe who in the class is going to stick around or who's going to quit? Because a lot of people don't realize, like, how just because it bumping doesn't necessarily not hurt. It definitely hurt. It just avoids you from getting injured, right? You still feel it. Do you
absolutely.
Feel like some students don't realize what it is when they start doing it?
Yeah. I've been so blessed with my classes that 99% of people that have been in my classes have been capable of doing it, understand the risk associated with it, and don't let it deter them. Some people, you can absolutely tell that they're not cut out for it, And then you have conversations like, you know, is this something you'd like to continue? You try to make extra time to help. You know, other wrestlers will come in and try to help, but, you know, truth be told, no matter, they could be the nicest person in the world, but some people just aren't cut out for it, you know?
And how does your training progress from there? Like, what would you just said you go over like 3 or 4 things. You said like you train for 16 weeks. Is that
12 to 16, depending on progression.
So 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how do your students progress? Like, how do you get them from day one locking up to bumping to being able to do a sequence of stuff together?
It's a gradual progression. Again, it's just that same style of progression as we go. A lot of review, because again, if they're in week 8 and they're going to do a spot where maybe one guy gets another guy into a headlock, he gets shot off the ropes and tackles. Well, if the lockup looks like shit, I'm going to be like, hold on, stop. You're capable of doing a better lockup. Let's begin again. Okay. So it does take a while, but at the same time, it's just general progression, man. That's it. Usually I'll save like one bigger thing for a day, like, and that'll be, for example, in this class, it was bumping, you know. I don't really know how to explain it other than literally sitting here and going through the entire lesson plan, but that's the best phrase that I can think to explain it.
So now we're going to get into you creating your ideal students. Would they
Nope.
What type of personality would you consider to be like your ideal student walking into your school?
The personality of Big T, the athleticism of Cody Boggs, the physique of Jordan Kamal. There you go.
Got in some trouble. But you're not very often you're going to get all of
course
that
not. No,
in one person.
Not.
Like very, very
of
rare.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. I agree. No, man, honestly, I don't think people realize how long like physique and body transformations truly take. All I can ask for is somebody who's eager, follows advice, and just tries their hardest. I certainly wasn't the most athletic person to come out of Gary's school, but after 13 years, I'm the only one still doing it. And not to disparage, like, man, I love Chris Caldwell, like, we're good buddies. Like, Jeff could have been the fucking WWE champion if he had, you know, like, that guy was a freak. But, you know, I did it. And it wasn't because I was better than them, not even close. It was just because I really buckled down and tried. Yeah, that's it. I just want somebody who is respectful, willing, and really gives it an honest effort.
When it comes to getting your gimmick, what do you give that person input? Do you tell them what they want to do? Peter wrote something, Brody Steele wrote something on Facebook
if you're in the,
today
I saw
about getting your name. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they should come up with everything themselves? Do you think it should be bestowed upon them? Because back in the day, nobody got to pick their name. Like Brody Steele was the Mighty Hercules. Like Cowboy Mike Hughes was Iron Mike Hughes.
Like, my mom still refers to Peter as Hercules. Like, she used to take me to Grand Prix when I was a kid, right?
Like when you were Sex and Phoenix, you came up with Sex. I remember talking to you about it.
Yeah, I came up with
you came up with Sex and Phoenix, but
fuck.
Do you think it should be bestowed upon you by your trainer, or do you think the student should be creative enough to come up with it? Or
it's subjective, man. For example, like my student Dwight Griffiths, well, he had scraggly long hair, which he always keeps up tied nicely in a ponytail, but when it's down, it's like right in his face, and so he's got a big beard, like. So I was like, man, you should do like a gimmick where you wear like trunks and like a cut off flannel shirt, and you could be backwoods, like that would be cool. And then he did it, and he seemingly really likes it, and I think it's a good gimmick, and he pulls it off well. That was a suggestion. Casey, I think we kind of came up with that Highland Warrior or Scott. He had the idea, and then we just kind of refined it a little bit. But I mean, for Cody Boggs, I was like, fuck, man. I was like, I don't know. I was like, because he's a skinny guy. I was like, you should be in a mask. I was like, why don't you wrestle as an ice cream cone? I was like, dude, get a full body suit that looks like an ice cream cone.
You didn't listen.
And then your mask is the scoop of the ice cream.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man. I don't know, man. Maybe I was just being funny. But like, I don't know, man. It's like, if I have an idea for somebody, I'll recommend it. But if somebody's like, hey, you know, I think this would work, I'll be like, okay, cool, man. You know, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Worst case scenario, you do a performance art that doesn't stick.
Right.
You know, try it again. It's fine.
Brody Steele, Peter Smith, who internationally traveled wrestle all over the world, one of, if not the most traveled wrestler from the Maritimes, at least of his generation, by far.
Unquestionably.
I don't think there's a second guy that comes even close to him. He wrote this the other day, Sunday to be exact, and it's about training. And he says, and I just want you to respond to what you think of it. He says, young wrestlers, has your training made a living from wrestling? Has your booker drawn money in at least one, but preferably multiple markets, or at least been in a market that has drawn and learned money? Respond to that first. There's a bunch of them here. Like when it comes to you training people, like if people, like if Casey, you train Casey, can he say that about you? Like your thoughts on?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that I'm capable enough to train.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to rephrase that. I am capable and learned and experienced enough to train. Peter himself gave me his blessing. Gary gave me his blessing. Mike, like, they wouldn't come and do seminars in my building with me if they didn't feel that way. And believe me, their opinion means quite a lot to me. So I can confidently say that, yes, I am safe under the umbrella and, at least in that regard, free from criticism. There are plenty of other things you could criticize me for, but I do not feel that that is one of them.
He also stresses the fact of, are you doing everything you can to be, when I say you, I mean your students.
Yeah.
Like, do you teach them everything you can to be unique and be an investment on the show that they're on? How do you teach that to your students?
That's a great question. Yeah, man, I mean, you have to be unique. So in terms of appearance, in terms of character, it has to be unique. Not everybody can be like, you know, the cool guy that comes down in a leather jacket and fucking choke slams everybody.
Yeah.
Be unique, and honestly, man, do whatever it takes to get that promotion to need you. Casey is a handyman. Casey has a truck. Casey's lugged that ring between provinces. He's rebuilt it. He's tooled it. He's fixed it, as have Sabotage. If people can make themselves invaluable, then they have a spot.
Didn't he like rebuild like the truck on the road one time because the axle broke off the ring truck or something?
Man.
I remember seeing a picture like I don't know where they were going.
That guy's superhuman.
Yeah,
Casey's
it's crazy.
And truthfully, like you look at guys like Dynamite too. Like he's made himself invaluable places just by being there for everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand the traditional belief of, well, you know, you're a wrestler, just get paid, show up, do the show, that's your job.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now there's just such high saturation in the market that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Businesses evolve. Our business has evolved. Some people use it as more of like an outlet for creativity. I personally use it as a source of supplemental income, but it's also something I love. You know what I mean? If anybody was to say, Troy, do you even love wrestling anymore? It's like, yeah, dude, come on. I mean, there's other ways I could be spending my time.
How much do you stress the importance to your students of being in the gym and being physically fit? Not everybody, in my opinion, has to look like a bodybuilder.
I agree.
But you have to be, because if everybody looked like John Cena, everybody would be the same, right? You want characters and uniqueness, but how you have to be able to go and not like blow up or gas out or get tired.
And also be able to hold people above your head. Not
right. How important do you stress that to your students?
Of the utmost importance.
Honestly, most of them don't. Some of them are now, but most people coming to wrestling don't, like, at all. You yourself, like, at the time, like, wasn't in the best shape. But
no, fuck.
I tried. You got,
yeah.
You eventually got it, and it takes a long time. But you had someone like Jeff, who was, he's like my height, but he probably weighed 150 pounds and was really weak and awkward and stuff. So how do you stress that to your students? He's actually, I'll say
First of all,
he surprised me a lot. Like, I didn't think he was going to last day one.
Yeah.
He's improved leaps and bounds. He catches on to stuff now.
I know. It's remarkable.
They were maybe a month apart, maybe even a couple weeks apart. Steen was trying to teach him how to jump from the second rope to the top rope. I don't know. Steen could do it back in the day. I know. But and Jeff couldn't get it. The next UCW show was like a month, maybe 2-3 weeks later. He was doing it in the ring, spot on. So I know I just said Jeff, but I would say I'm not picking on you.
Well, I want to go back, and you said something about Jeff being awkward. Jeff has never been awkward in his. Yeah, I know he's fucking awkward. No, that's honestly, man. I stress it. I relay the importance of it. I offer assistance. I have a background in training. I run a supplement store. So when I have stuff that I don't use or stuff that comes back to me and it is credited by suppliers, depending on who it is, I'll give my students supplements. I'll give my students free gym passes. Like, I can provide everything, but I can't go to their house, pick them up, put them in the car, and drive them to the gym.
What do you think it is? Like, why do you think they can go? You don't go to Walmart without your uniform on. Well, being in the gym is like you're part of being a pro wrestler.
I know.
Why do you think it's so neglected? Like, I want to say that they're lazy, but they're not necessarily lazy because they want to wrestle. They want to do something active.
It's
what is it about the gym? Like,
the effort's redirected, man. I don't know. Like, even before Justin got into the gym there, he was like doing all this shit, like driving to Moncton to like rebuild the IHW ring back in the day, doing all this stuff. It's like, instead of spending like 15 hours doing that every weekend, it's like, why not spend one in the gym?
Yeah.
A couple times.
He's fairly big. He's 6'2", 240.
Yeah. And now he's getting strong, and he's really making a concentrated out, and it shows.
Yeah. We talked about that yesterday.
Good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man, I just think that there's effort there, but I think maybe it's overwhelming. But it's like, well, how bad do you want it?
Yeah. And I understand. I was there. I understand not understanding how to work out.
Yeah, of course.
You could go to the gym and be like, huh? Like, I don't know what this machine does. I don't know what that machine does. Being nervous. Sometimes there's a lot of jacked up
Truth be told, though, and sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
In this age of information, there's no excuse not to find a resource.
Yeah, and there's a lot, not even going online to bodybuilding.com or whatever the website you use, YouTube, whatever. Yeah. There's a couple people around here that are knowledgeable, yourself, that are more than willing to take somebody to the gym, because I've seen you there with Sabotage and stuff. Like, Tommy Starr used to go with you. Like, you're more than willing to help them if they want to help themselves, but some of them still don't do it.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't. Truthfully, man, it used to be something that would bother me.
Yeah.
I can't focus my attention on anything that doesn't make me happy. Having said that, I will still try to make a concentrated effort to help people see the benefit of it, because there's no denying that when you finish a workout, there's a release of endorphins in your brain that make you feel incredible.
100%.
I think everybody deserves to have that feeling.
Yeah.
To see those results, to feel yourself getting stronger. It's like, I hit a squat PR last night, and I was like, I didn't outwardly get excited, but I was like, all right, that's great. Like, and you see it at this time. It's January now, so there's a lot of people that are going to the gym and they'll get frustrated and they'll stop, and it's like, oh man, like, I wish you'd just stay, because you deserve that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And not just wrestlers, everybody deserves to feel good about themselves. Even if you're not a freaking bodybuilder, even if you don't have abs, I don't have abs, but it's like, you should be able to look in the mirror and be like, I feel great. Yeah. And working out really helps with that. Man, I just wish that, I wish, not just in the sense of the business, but I wish that more people would be like, if they get the chance to feel that way, man, how much better would this world be if everybody felt good about themselves?
Yeah, it'd be amazing. From my own perspective, I sure know, like, it's changed my life 100%.
Yeah.
As far as character development, cutting promo, we talked about the name, but as far as like cutting promos and things of that nature, how do you go about teaching students that? Because that's probably one of the hardest things for people to do. Someone can go and learn and bump, but it doesn't mean they're going to be able to talk on a mic, or they could be like shy. How do you go about bringing that out in them? And is that something you can teach people, or is that something that a lot of people say you have to have that type of charisma? Is that something you believe you can teach somebody? Because there's obviously going to be people better at it than somebody from day one. There's going to be somebody that's a better bumper. There's going to be somebody that's a better talker.
Right.
But can you teach that better bumper how to talk?
I mean, honestly, man, repetition, repetition, repetition. I have guys that send me promos, on 2 or 3 times a week just to see, like, they seek my opinion. If I'm the resource that they want to use, great, I'd be happy to help. Obviously, in the wrestling world, there are tons of more experienced resources that would be useful. Yeah. But I think what it is, why people kind of are drawn to me, is because I understand the subjectivity of it, the fact that everybody is different. My only thing when I try to instruct people on emotions, be it through facials, through promos, through dialogue with the crowd, it's like, believe it. Yeah. Just believe it. You have to convince yourself that it's true. Otherwise, it'll just come across as hokey, and it'll come across as, like, I'm aware that I'm seeing something isn't real right now. But it's like, if you can really believe what you're saying, then you've won. I'm sorry I can't articulate that better. But yeah, no, there certainly is time that I dedicate specifically to that, just because I want to see who has it. I'll be like, okay, you've got 30 seconds. This is your opponent. Go in cold. Go. And varying degrees of success. It's cool. It's fun to see. And then maybe after they develop a character that they want to go with, after graduation of the class, then they'll get more comfortable because they have something to work with. But again, it's just so subjective. It's like saying, okay, there's every vehicle in the world, pick your favorite without knowing anything about cars. Right. There's got to be guidance. And the thing is too, man, it's like, I'm a resource when people finish training as well. It's like, you can't just be like, all right, thanks for paying. You're done. I got your money, brother. Fuck you. No. Any of the young guys around, I'll do anything I can to help them. If I'm not too tired or something. But if they send me a message and I don't get back to it straight away, I will. Just have patience with me. I've been at it for a minute, and I just need some time. Sometimes, not to say I'm the busiest guy in the world, but I value my time. So I'll help as much as I can. Just, be patient.
There's one more question about the training aspect of it I wanted to mention. Not to keep harping on it, but it is an extremely important part of being a wrestler. When it comes to, I get these messages, and again, so I'm going to assume you get a million more than I do about diet. How important is the diet of an athlete? And how many times do you send someone a diet and then they not do it and then come back to you 6 months later and then ask again? Do you have a limit of like how many times you're going to help somebody? And what is your importance of like the diet of a pro wrestler?
Much like promos, much like any sort of athletic endeavor, diet is very subjective. I'm not a bodybuilder. Right. I'm just a guy with, a bit of size. That's it.
You put on a lot of size.
Yes.
Yeah, 60, 70 something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Since I started training 13 years ago.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so I came in at like 180, but that was down from 230 of pure fat.
Right.
Right? So I'm about 230 right now. Yeah. And it's like decent composition. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, I gained 80, but I was like super skinny, right?
Yeah. But in terms of diet, man, my go-to is this, and it's something that Peter taught me to avoid frustration. Give them 2 weeks to write down everything they eat. Yeah. Write down everything you eat, send me a list in 2 weeks, and we'll make small changes just to make these different timings and eat this, not that, as a kind of a habit, then get back to me 2 weeks after that. We'll change it again. Because that leaves the onus on them to be responsible. If somebody can't commit to writing down everything they eat for 2 weeks, then I know that they're not going to be able to commit to following a diet. Yep. I don't take it personally. It's very daunting. There's a million reasons why their time might not allow them to meal prep in their mind. And again, I'm not trying to be funny, but that's true. Like people be like, "Oh, I don't have the time."
People get overwhelmed, but they'll sit down and watch 6 hours of television.
I work in this industry as well. I run a health and wellness store. You know what I mean? So it's like people every day. What do you have that'll make me lose weight? Yeah. And I'm like, man, like, do you have a minute? Like, can we talk about your life? Like, I want to know everything I can about them so I can actually help them change.
Absolutely.
It's like I have products that will aid you a little bit, but it's like if you let me just talk to you, let me help you. Like, I can really help you make a change in your life that you'll feel great about, and you deserve it. Yeah. Every wrestler deserves it. At the store, I don't say write down everything you eat.
Right.
I just make generalized recommended. But for people in wrestling that seek my help, yeah, just write everything down that you eat, and I'll take a look at it, and we'll structure it in a certain amount of hours per day, and then that way, that's creating a habit. And then after that, we'll maybe say, eat this, not that, eat this, not that. And unless they're like, I want to fucking change my life in 2 months, I'm like, okay, here we go,
yeah.
Bam.
Yeah.
And then if they don't follow it, it's like, okay, I'm not surprised. I've been contacted a number of times where I've done that in the past, but truthfully, man, I don't want to get mad at anybody, so that's usually how I start it now, is just to say, okay, well, yeah, let me know what you eat. Just write everything down for 2 weeks and send it to me. Yeah. And hopefully I can help people.
Has anyone come to you, you don't have to say specifically, but has someone ever come to you like more than, like you've helped them, they haven't done it, they've come back, you've helped them, they haven't done it, you've come back. Like, what do you say to someone like that?
Fortunately, it hasn't happened.
Okay.
But if it did, yeah, no, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Right? But if it did, I'd say something like, okay, like, this has happened before. Like, you have to be objective with people, and you have to tell them this, lay out the facts, ask them what they want to do differently, and come to a solution. I say that, but sometimes I'll just be like, what the fuck, get out of here. Like, ideally, that's how I do it every time,
yeah.
But sometimes people just piss me off.
Yeah.
I'm a human being too. I'm allowed to say, go fuck yourself every once in a while. But I'll try my best to help, man. If they come back, it's like, fuck, man. Anytime anybody admits that they want to improve themselves, that's them expressing vulnerability. So, as a human being, I just want people to feel good about themselves. I think everybody deserves that. So if they come back and they haven't done it successfully the first time, let's diagnose. Let's find out why.
Okay. It's a good way to be. It's good that it hasn't happened to you. That's awesome. Man. As far as teaching your students how to go about getting booked by promoters in the area,
yeah.
I'm gonna guess that you teach them like locally first before they would expand everywhere else. How do you go about telling your students how to approach a promoter with getting booked on their shows with having zero experience wrestling before?
Yeah, absolutely. As professionally as possible, without being a kiss-ass, generic mother-fucker, for lack of better term. Sorry, man.
No, it's fine.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, you can swear. Try doing 7 hours a day with Gary and not getting swear.
But truthfully, it's like, introduction, this is who I am. I have zero experience. I'd love to be an asset to your show. Don't necessarily say you're looking for a booking straight away. Be like, I have gear, we'll travel. And then list off your information, like a bit of information about yourself. If they don't respond, maybe show up or like send a message, be like, would it be okay if I came and helped you set up your ring and set up chairs? If they don't respond, I can just show up. Yeah. Hey, sorry to intrude. Like, I really want to be here. Is there anything I can do to help you and make your day easier? Yeah. And then if they don't respond, it's like, okay, take the fucking hint. It has happened though where, a student in the past has like sent messages to like promoters elsewhere and been like, hello, my name is this. I've been trained by this person. This is my fee. I can do these dates. And I was like, oh fuck, don't do that.
Seriously, that's great.
Yeah, and it's like, and then one of the promoters messaged me. He's like, hey, I just want you to know that one of your students sent me this. And I was like, son of a gun. I was like, okay, I will have a talk. Thank you very much for your understanding. I was like, this is a reflection of me, but you understand I wouldn't tell somebody that. And he's like, yes, I understand. I was like, thank you.
Yeah. So you would obviously telling your students, like a lot of people don't know that your job just isn't going, and not you, but like a student's job at a wrestling show isn't just showing up and wrestling. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's driving to the shows, there's driving people to the shows, there's setting up chairs, there's setting up the ring, there's tearing down the ring, there's stacking the chairs at the end of the night, and 900 other little things that happen throughout the day, setting up music, the stage, whatever. How do you explain to your students that they just don't show up and wrestle? That's not just their job.
Just like that. Yeah. That's exactly it. I'll say, like, you have to make yourself as useful as possible from the time you wake up that day to the time the promoter says, thank you, good job, have a good night. And then even after that, it's like, you still probably have to drop people off and stuff, man. So, yeah, you articulated it well.
All right.
That's how I articulate it also.
Has there been anyone that has been surprised by that? Like, after training, they think that they're just there to wrestle?
Yep.
Yeah. How do you explain that to them?
Well, that person still owes me a large chunk of their tuition and is no longer in Canada. So, if you're watching this, that was not the right thing to do. Email is sextonphoenix@gmail.com. Send me the remaining balance if you want.
That's another thing that's important that happens all the time in wrestling. You're not going to graduate school if you go to Dalhousie University. They're going to kick you out if you don't pay your tuition. A lot of people get away, even back in your day when you were training with Gary. Most of those students, I'm sure you did, but I only know for sure one other person paid Gary in full. Jeff.
Me too.
Yeah, and I know you did. That's why I said one other person. The other people may have, but I know some didn't. So what is it about professional wrestling training that people think they can just screw their trainer, that they don't have to pay, or they think it's ridiculous that you have to pay, or the price is too high, like even though they sign up and then finish and be like, oh, bye.
If you find out, tell me. Because I had
it's
one
so
guy.
weird to me.
Yeah, I had another guy who owed me money well after the class, and it was, I'm going to pay you on this date. I'm so sorry. I was like, I'm an empath, so I always give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, man, I understand that your cousin's cat gets sick and, you took them to the vet, perfectly fine. Then 2 months later, hey, what the heck's going on here, And then they just disappear, and then it's like, then you see them reappear, and you're like, good evening. Like, I'm back. And then eventually, you end up driving around their work parking lot at night, getting out looking for them. You don't find them, but then you stress the importance that they should pay you. And then, in my case, the only one that ever hasn't was the one that I mentioned. Okay. But I have had to track it down, and it's like, my goodness, man. Don't make a commitment if you can't make it financially viable to do so.
Right. It should be no different than anything
I
else in your
had
life.
2 guys that signed up for this previous class.
Mm-hmm. The one you're doing now? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And I explained everything to them. It was great communication. They were very, very effective communicators, athletic backgrounds. I was like, all right, this is going to be great. 2 Christian guys, like they seemed to have really good morals. And I was excited for that. And I was like, and I messaged them each individual. I was like, just to confirm, you're 100% invested in this. I can count on you because now I will take this opportunity to let other applicants know that there's no more room in the class. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're in. Great. 2 days before training, unfortunately, circumstances have arisen where I can't. I'm just like, man, this, it might seem like a cool and fun idea to most people, but this is a big part of my life.
Yeah.
It's income for me. It's, income for, what I like to do. It's like, it helps pay my bills. Mm-hmm. I've reserved those spots, but it's like, you just potentially cheated my girlfriend out of a nice date.
Yeah.
You just, no, I'm still going to take her out because that's how you do. But, it's like, you fucked me, you fucked her, you fucked my cats. Yeah. It hurts.
Is there a way to avoid that in wrestling? Do you think if you asked everyone to pay up front, you would get less students? Yeah. But so you go into it with the risk knowing that you may or may not.
I procure information.
Yeah.
Now, there's fail safes put in place now.
Good.
The only fail safe that I avoided or should have avoided that time was down payment is due on the first day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that was my bad. Just really unfortunate that people would take advantage of something like that.
Yeah, and it happens everywhere.
Without securing
it's always happening.
Yeah, it's too much.
The importance of gear. How do you stress that to your students? Because there's professionally trained wrestlers around here that have been wrestling for 15 years that still don't have gear.
Yeah.
The importance of having gear to your students.
My first class, I gave them all a pair of boots.
Yeah.
I had 3 guys, they each got a pair of boots because I had a lot of boots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and I told them the importance. I was like, these are wrestling boots. This is what you wear to wrestle.
Yeah.
I was like, I gave,
You're not going to show up to your job at McDonald's in jeans and a t-shirt,
exactly.
Right? It's your uniform.
And I had so much gear made over the years that, like, Jeff, the pair of red and blue pants that he used to wear, that's my gear.
Yeah.
Dwight has a pair of trunks that he'd wear with his flannel, that was my gear. And it's like, that was just to get them started. That was a little like, here you go.
Not everybody's going to do that, though.
No, of course.
Yeah.
No, and honestly, and not to pat myself on the back, but it's like that's going above and beyond. I think.
Yeah. No, it is for sure.
I think that
Gary didn't do that for you guys. Like,
no.
He may gave someone a pair of boots or something, but he didn't give them all his whole gear.
But it's like that was just me trying to show like I have your back. Like I will support you. I will be here to help my students in any way possible. But the importance of gear is stressed very much. You have to look the part. You have to have nice gear. I like to think that during my entire time in wrestling, all my gear is custom made.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all been nice. I spent $400 on a pair of boots last year that were 15 inches high. I'm not going to say the name of the boot maker, but they've since fallen apart. So right here, pal, you know who you are. So I went to Kit Pads because it's 2019 and we're in the indie zone, brother.
Kit Pads and shoes.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, $400 is a big investment.
Big time.
For custom boots.
Yeah.
So it's like I think that says that I take it seriously, and I expect that from my students as well.
What do you say to someone that shows up to their job without their uniform, like their gear?
Well, if it was my business, I'd say, where is your proper attire?
Yeah.
It's not here. Okay, well then neither are you. Goodbye now.
Proper thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. That's it.
Should they have gear day one when they go try to get that first booking?
Yes, no question. Absolutely.
Now, there's a lot of problem. You've had this problem in the past as well about burning bridges with various promoters and people within the business. When you were young, it happened to you as well. How do you teach or tell your students not to do that? And if that situation comes up, how do you tell them to either like avoid it or apologize or?
Honestly, man, a lesson that I had to learn through firsthand experience: if you're mad, shut up and go away. Just go away from the situation. Try to think critically from both sides. Like, a promoter isn't going to not book you just because they want to be a dick. Ideally, try to think about it from their position and just be upfront. Be like, yeah. You almost have to remove emotion from it sometimes. Be like, let's say, for example, they set up the ring, they did all the chairs for 3 months, and the promoter still wouldn't book them. Then rather than be like, fuck you, you're a fucking dick, I fucking busted my ass setting up chairs. It's like, talk to the promoter.
Yeah.
Hey, man, sorry to bother you. I'm sure you've got a million things to do today. I'm just wondering what it's going to take for me to get a shot here. What do I have to do to earn a place on your show? I've been doing this. If that's not enough, that's okay. Just tell me and I'll do it. That's the attitude you have to have. But if for some reason they do go the other route, fuck you, fuck this, well, then they have to spend some time in wrestling jail. And I say that jokingly, but it's like, well, just give people time to cool down, then eventually reapproach and be like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. My emotions get the best of me. Hopefully we can let this blow over. My goal is to not be on the outs with anybody on a personal level.
Yeah.
And then if that translates to wrestling again in the future, great. But again, being quiet during times of like trepidation, that's essential. You have to be cool, man. You have to be cool. You have to keep a level head. Otherwise, everybody's going to be against you.
And how would they go about asking for forgiveness from said promoter? Like, I can't remember if you were in this picture or not, but there was a picture in your training class.
Everybody giving Chittick the finger.
The finger.
Yeah.
And some of those people eventually worked for him.
Yeah, I wasn't in the picture.
You weren't in the picture, okay.
No, but I've done dumb shit like that before.
So how do they go about being like, that was dumb? Like,
hopefully just like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know what? Wrestling is its own unique thing, but at the end of the day, everybody's just a dude.
Yeah.
So it's like, fuck, man, if you fuck up, you're like, hey, dude, you know what? I fucked up. I'm real sorry. Either they accept it or they don't. That's it,
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
When it comes to telling your students on who to go to for advice in the business, who do you tell them they should go to? There's a lot of people out there that have zero experience that love giving people advice.
Yeah.
Who would you tell them, and how do you tell them not to possibly like stay away from that, or even just listen but ignore it? or just listen and take it in, but be like, if this guy says something different, listen to what they say first. How do you go about telling your students who to go to advice for and not necessarily who to listen to, or the type of person not to listen to?
Great question, dude. It goes back to my initial 2 rules. Number 1 being safety. Number 2, no yeah buts. If anybody offers their time to give them advice, oh, great, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Because again, regardless of who you are, your time is valuable for the most part. And that's not just wrestling. It's like, I mean that in like, if you're a child murderer and you take the time to give advice, so it's like, fuck you, your time means nothing. But like, although Chris Benoit, his advice would be pretty good. You strangle. No. Who to go to for advice? It's pretty obvious.
How do you tell them how do they know who's the right people to go to?
Most times it's pretty obvious, dude.
You'd think,
yeah. Watch the show, see who really has the best matches, who's really like, who do you want to be like?
Yeah.
Seek their counsel. And sometimes it's a matter of like, by seeking whose counsel will it be the most advantageous for you?
Right.
Even if they're not the best.
Right.
And that's why people come to me.
Do you, like, how, when you were getting started, you obviously would have went to like a Gary Williams, your trainer, or Cowboy Mike Hughes,
or Tony Armstrong,
Brody Steele,
people who are good with more experience.
Right, and Tony Armstrong necessarily wasn't at that veteran level.
No,
but he was really good. He helped train you, like he was like a co-trainer with Gary.
Yeah.
Someone else around here kind of like that now is Covey, who hasn't necessarily done a lot.
Yeah,
but he's very knowledgeable and very smart. Would you feel comfortable someone to going, like, how do they know that Covey's smart, but this person, and they have the same level of experience, but this person isn't necessarily, how do they know who they're supposed to believe?
Watch the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? By watching a Covey match, you can tell he's good.
Yeah.
With Covey specifically, this is something I was going to mention earlier, but now I'll take the time to elaborate on it. I'll take a second to talk about Covey. I regard him so much as a person. I think he's one of the greatest people I've ever met. He's so kind, so nice, respectful to me more than just about anybody I've ever met. So I like to talk about goals with people. I like to talk about what people want to do just to see if there's any small, minuscule way I might be able to help. With Covey, he laid out to me that his long-term goal was to train people for wrestling. Yeah. He's an empath as well. A little bit more aggressive because, he's a little bit newer to the business. So like his jaded personality, when people aren't quite to that level and that effort, like he still gets pissed off. Yeah. And I don't think he'd deny that either.
No.
Now for me, it's like if somebody asks, it's like I'll tell them, well, you don't put in the effort, blah, blah, blah. He will go out of his way to be like, excuse me, like third class, you suck. Not in those words. But with Covey, he expressed that one day he wanted to train people. Yeah. That was a goal of his down the road. I said, great. That's something with which I can help you. So what I've done is I keep him on retainer. I give him money to help me train my class.
Right. Just like Gary with Tony, or Tony with Gary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I said to him, if we get this many students, I'll give you this much, etc. We made an agreement. Yeah. Because I believe that he can articulate things certain ways that I don't. Mm-hmm. I think we complement each other well. His capability to perform the moves and explain the moves, fantastic. But it's also like, this guy wants to do this and I have a chance to help him. Why the heck wouldn't I? He's a great guy. Yeah. Of course I want to help him. So having the opportunity to have him in the class, it's like his advice is invaluable. And your interview with him, I watched the whole thing, and there was one thing that I wanted to touch on because I don't necessarily agree with it, and I think that he and I would have a good conversation about this, should it be brought up. And that was, you asked him, do you think you're in a position now that you would be qualified as a head trainer? And he said yes. I disagree. The reason being is that in order to be a qualified head trainer, you got to put in the time and you've got to put in the reps. Knowledge, through the roof. Capabilities, through the roof. Yeah. Fundamentals, of course. But you still have to put in the time.
Mm-hmm. I think he knows that's where I was trying to go with that question too.
I honestly feel like you have to put in the time, and he's capable of having those accomplishments, but he has to accomplish them first.
Yeah.
Having said that, I value him so much, and I see that I know that he's going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I not try to at least give him the advantage of having that experience coaching under my watch?
Yeah.
But when it comes to get back to your initial question, I just wanted to talk about Kobe.
No, go ahead. Yeah, love it, man.
But to get back to your original question, it should be obvious. But if they're like, so and so told me this, I'll be like, ooh, maybe just listen to Troy on that one.
Yeah, you can be like, one of your students, or just not even your students, someone in general will be like, we'll do something, and you'd be like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, because he told me to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't listen to him. Like, type of thing.
I wouldn't say it like that. But I'd say like, okay, did you seek his advice?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Most times no. Okay, now you understand.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think my sort of style in terms of like my students and helping them and watching them grow, trial by fire.
Yeah.
Trial and error rather. Do it. Wrestling is such a subjective art form. If they want to try something that traditionally wouldn't work, and if it falls flat, well, their matches are going to suck anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you get into wrestling and you're doing everything by the book, your match is going to suck because you're new. It's going to be shit. So it's like, if it's shit, why not at least try something innovative to maybe do something that'll set you apart from everybody else? That's where I wanted to go with that.
As my next question here, as far as teaching psychology to your students, matches tell a story in there, which is a lot of people probably have absolutely no idea what that means unless you're a pro wrestler, right? They don't get that the guys are telling a story in there when they're having a match. How do you explain that to them, that it's not just hip toss, drop kick, body slam?
Right.
Like,
I beat you up for a bit, you beat me up for a bit. Yeah, no.
Because there's like a shine and things like that, right?
Yeah, with regards to that basic paint by numbers match, I'll tell them about that. Yeah. There's and just for people watching to kind of provide context, most beginner matches generally follow a very similar kind of formula.
I'm just going to cut you off. I just have a funny story about that. Heather, my wife, she had only been to like 2 shows at this point. She saw Steen wrestle on both of them. She saw I'm talking about the generic match you're talking about. He wrestled Jason Holiday at one show, and he wrestled Krista's brother Adam at the next show, like a year and a half apart. And I go over to the table after, and she's like, "Why did Steen have the exact same match with both those people?" And she had only ever seen 2 shows at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what you're talking about, your basic match, right?
That's it, man.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
it's explain. That's what it is.
Yeah, so that's a great practical example of it. But that generic sort of by the numbers kind of match, for people that aren't familiar with the concept, that's an easy one. You know what I mean? That's one that's pretty much, it'll fill time on a show. So I'll teach them that. But in terms of psychology, like, we'll talk about other stories, and you really have to have context to have different stories too, right? Like, you need to have a reason to have a different match. You need to have a reason to be heated. That reason can be something as simple as like the other wrestler shoves you, but it's so complicated, and there's so many variables that as a trainer, fundamentals and basic psychology are all I can really teach until it's time to get in front of a crowd and experience that aspect. Because that's where you really start to learn. And that's where you really start to be like, okay, what if I did this differently? And then you do it and it gets a reaction. Mm-hmm. And you're like, great, I'll do that some other time. Or you do it and it's like, wow, wow. And you're like, fuck, won't do that again. So basic psychology, yeah, that's easy to teach. But in terms of like the in-depth nature of like more complex matches with a story behind them, you got to do it, man. Yeah, that's all there is to it.
Now, happens all the time, and it's pretty normal. A student will go out, have their first match, and get completely lost.
Yeah.
how do you tell them like not to panic, calm down? Like how do you teach them? Because it's a natural thing to like, oh my god, I forgot to do this. What do I do? And you can't just
give the guy another shot. That's really hard.
Right.
I've seen that so many times.
Yeah, and you can't just freeze out there. It's like it's like you're watching the Broadway play. I'm sure actors mess up all the time, but we don't know they mess up.
Yeah.
So how do you teach them like not to freeze? Just like go do something. Like grab a headlock. Like
it took me a while. It took me a while to figure out how to do that effectively as well.
Yeah.
So now that I can, it's like okay, it's easy. Just believe it. You know what I mean? Like think if this was a real fight. Like if you lose the match, you're like, oh fuck, I forget what's next. You're not going to do this in the fight because you're going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
Stay on him.
Yeah.
Stay on him. Get something. Ask. Grab a hold. Ask. You can't just stop it. Like line. Like no. Unfortunately, we don't have that capability.
Right.
Stay aggressive. Like believe it, but at the same time, it's like you either got to grab a hold and ask, or get the guy to a corner and put him in a position where you can ask and make it look like you're still doing something, because there's no other option. You can't stop. You can't stop.
Yeah.
You know, it's a one take. Yeah, 1 sec. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Give you 50 cents back. That'll offset the cost of your ticket. Sorry, that's not really a great answer, but it's like you just have to proceed and stop it for a second in the sense where like you get the guy to hold, but you're still doing something. But then you can kind of reassess. Hopefully the other guy remembers. Otherwise, it's like, take it home, brother. 1, 2, 3.
Do you think a student should have his first match against another student, someone he's been training with and might be more comfortable in the ring with? Or do you think it matters? Or do you think he should be in there with like a veteran that can necessarily carry him through the first
Whatever
match?
makes sense for the show. Yeah. It's not for the benefit of the student.
Okay. And at what point in your training do your students start having matches against each other? Because they have matches against each other in training before they would have them on a live show.
Yeah, so basically once they learn like a large portion of the fundamentals, like in training a finish can be a hip toss, you know what I mean? Like that's fine, just as long as you're getting through it.
Yeah.
I'll always like start low. I'll be like, okay, we're going to do a 5-minute match. You're going to do this generic kind of psychology, and then you've got 5 minutes. I'll call out the times during the match, like 2 minutes, 4 minutes, and then they'll know, like, okay, it's time to go home. Because when you're wrestling on a show, time is very important. Mm-hmm. That's something that's understated. You know, you see a lot of guys doing like 25-minute matches, and the crowd's like, because it's like, that's not the time that they were supposed to put there. There's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
Man, those shows that I did like in the UK, set to a watch, dude. Arrived to the building at 5. Show starts at 7. Show ends at 9 o'clock. Ring is down and in the van by 9:30. Home to the hotel by 10.
Yeah, that's
what
amazing.
The fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like
here it rings up at 9 a.m.
but no, it's like, you know, they start probably about like 7-8 weeks in, and it's just again to get them comfortable with the timing and the fundamental moves in sequence, and then again it's kind of like, you know, they're on their own, sink or swim, and I'll be there for their life, essentially, to help them if they don't, you know, burn me.
You mentioned timing, and how do you teach? That is something that's extremely important. If you ever wrestle television, you have to be spot on, or you're getting chewed out when you get to the back. How do you teach them to keep time in there?
Again, I just call it out as they go, and then I don't.
Yeah.
And then if they get it, great. And if it's like, oh, you were 2 minutes over. Okay, well, 2 minutes on like an indie show, not the end of the world. Ideally, it would be spot on, but after a bit of time in the class and they do those matches, they generally start to pick it up, unless they're really fucking shitty. And then it's like, well, then they're probably not going to do anything anyway, and they should have, you know, maybe either quit or taken my advice and stopped coming weeks ago. You know.
How do you approach somebody that you know isn't going to make it? Like, do you...
Empathetically. I've done it before. Yeah. Like, you know, I don't think this is...
Because you're crushing their dream, or they're realizing that they're not going to cut it, but they don't necessarily want to quit, you know?
Yeah.
So what do you say to someone like that?
You try to do it as sensitively as possible and be like, look, this is what's happening. This is what needs to happen. You have until this time to make that happen. Then either they do it or they don't. Then when you reach that point, if they don't, you know what the agreement was. You agreed to this. Unfortunately, as a result, you know, it's tough. It really is, because you don't want to take somebody's goal away from them.
Right.
but you also have to be realistic. That's something that really cost me in one of my classes, was being too empathetic, because it did take away the education from some of the other students that were more successful. That's the toughest part, honestly.
Yeah. So how do you tell a student that he's graduated, he's able to go out, get booked, and have a match on a show in front of live people? How do you determine that that student is ready and prepared to do that?
Case by case basis. Yeah. Do they meet a certain criteria? The criteria is, do I trust them if I weren't there around? So that's about it. Like it's case by case basis. Pretty straightforward, truthfully.
And then they're going to go have their first match. It might be someone against someone that they have no idea. How do you tell them to go about putting a match together if they're not the veteran, or if they're working with someone that is a veteran, or if they're working with someone that's the same skill level as them?
Somebody with the same skill level as them. It's like, okay, well, you're going to go in. You guys are at the same level, so make it a communal kind of thing. You guys sit down, talk, figure out what makes you... I'll usually help them lay it out, honestly, man. I'm lucky enough to get booked on a lot of the same shows as my students, or if not, they know what to do because I've instructed them how to do it. And it's like, if it's two guys with the same experience level, feed off of each other, use the basic format to start, and go from there. If it's somebody that has more experience than them, listen to them, please. If something makes you uncomfortable, you can tell them that. Be like, oh, you know what? That really makes me uncomfortable. Is there something we can substitute with it, please? Or substitute it with, please? If the guy is good enough, he'll figure something out. If he's a dick, well, I might step in and be like, man, are you fucking kidding me? Like, give me a break. Yeah. Fortunately, I haven't had to do that. Maybe I don't remember. But, no, I haven't. No, everybody's pretty cool, man. But yeah, it's like, just do what the person with more experience suggests. Then you can still get your moves in. Just they'll if I'm working a match with a younger guy, I'll be like, what do you like to do? What are your moves? And then we'll work them into my psychology so they can hit the moves that they like. And I'll be like, do you understand why this is there? And I take it upon myself to coach somebody like Charlie Hubley, who was trained by Lance Storm. I wrestled him, and I was like, okay, so what do you like to do? He told me his moves. I was like, all right, we'll put, we laid out the match. I was like, do you understand why I laid it out like that? He was like, not really. And I was like, okay, well, I walk him through it and just try to make him comfortable. Mm-hmm. It's nerve-wracking. If you were trained by Lance Storm, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? And he went out there and he did very well. And it's like, okay, cool. Most of the guys with experience around here are fucking cool, man. You can't say that they're not.
Would you tell your students to go out and work for as many people as possible, or would you tell them that there's certain promoters that they shouldn't work for? Not necessarily around here, but just in the general terms of things, should they stay away
unless their well-being or like safety is going to be compromised? Work for everybody. If there is a ring and there are people sitting around in chairs to watch the wrestling in that ring, they should be there. Yeah. Ideally, unless the promoter is like known for drugging young wrestlers and then like fucking them. You know what I mean? Like, of course, maybe avoid the drug fucking rape guy. Yeah. But sorry, that got really heavy. But do you understand what I mean? Like,
100%.
So that's my philosophy.
Now, UCW has started something up recently that you didn't have around when you were trained, that nobody really had.
Oh my goodness, I wish I had it when I was training.
What were your thoughts originally when they announced that they were doing a show just for, not necessarily your students, but just for most of them are your students, but just for the younger talent in the Maritimes, being on a show with just them? Because generally they were just like VIP portion of the main show. There would be like one or two matches, so only a couple of guys would get a shot on each show. Now they have their own show. What did you have any worries going in? What were your thoughts when they first announced this was going to happen?
Like anything, general skepticism. Yeah. In the sense of being a realist, it's like, okay, well, this is where that could go wrong. Fortunately, you had a guy like Covey there. There was people there to help them, to help them kind of get along and put the show together. And I think I'm soon going to be doing that too.
Yeah, hope so. I wish you were there for the first however many there were.
Yeah, I know. I was probably busy. It's not that
I think you were working or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, not to be I'm so busy, but it's man, my time is pretty tied up.
Yeah.
In my huge fucking house with my huge fucking truck, brother. Oh, because I'm so rich, brother.
He's not lying.
No. I'm kidding. I'm fucking kidding. I'll show you my bank account. It's not that impressive. It's not that impressive. But no, like, cautious optimism. Like, this is what could go wrong, but if these guys put half as much effort into it as they do the main shows, they're gonna do great. Yeah. And then they saw like the crowd at the first show, and I saw like how the card went. I was like, man, that's awesome. So proud of them. Very envious.
Yeah.
I wish I was around at my experience level when I started. I probably would have burned less bridges and maybe shut my fucking mouth a little bit more. But no, I think this generation of guys that started around the same time that I did, that didn't have these opportunities, are helping condition these guys well. And I think that opportunity for them to have their own show is fantastic. Because the crowd's aware of what to expect, but they're still getting a quality indie wrestling show.
Yeah, I was worried that they weren't going to draw.
Yeah.
Like, that was my big thing, because sometimes like the big names don't draw, right? And they outdrew some of the main UCW shows.
I know.
Like, I'm like, couldn't have been more happy to be wrong.
If you're trying to find like, exactly. It's like, that's amazing. If you're trying to find like an explanation, like maybe some people's families and stuff came, but it's like, who gives a
But they wouldn't come all the time.
No, exactly.
They're still drawn.
Yeah, it's like, that's what I mean. It's like, if you're trying to be a skeptic, and if you're trying to be a pessimist about it, you'd be like, oh, it's just all their families, it's just their fucking friends, and it's like, whatever, dude. It's a good crowd. They're having good shows. Good stuff, guys. I'll be around to help. I think that's the plan at the next one, so looking forward to it. But dudes already like message me and stuff, like asking advice for the shows. Like, they'll send me promos, like I said earlier. And it's like, yeah, okay. Like, if I have a second, I'll definitely help you out, man. Absolutely. And I'm so stoked for them, man. It's fucking sick. That's awesome, man. Another chance for these guys to get better. Bro.
Before we move on to the next subject here, is there anything else that I haven't mentioned training-wise about your classes, or anything that you would like to cover? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's pretty much, there's nothing additionally that I'd like to like address or anything. I think if people who watch this have any inquiries about training, that hopefully answers any questions they might have, aside from more specifics like about cost and expectations. But
how can they contact you if they're interested in becoming a student, training?
I can be contacted in a number of different ways. Through my Instagram at Chiseled Patriot, through my Twitter at Chiseled Patriot, through my Facebook, facebook.com/Chiseled Patriot. Those are the best three ways to contact me. You can also email me, AmericanPatriotWrestling@gmail.com. If you're interested, drop me a line, and we'll go from there.
All right. Now, I've asked this question to everybody I've interviewed over the past week. It's something that's going on in the maritime wrestling scene right now. It was going on a little bit in your day. It's been on and off over the years, where people telling other people they can't work for said promoter, said city. What are your thoughts on that? And has it happened to you during this latest span?
A little bit. Yeah. It's been around forever in wrestling. Independent wrestler means just that. You can work where you want. You can make your own choices. I agree. Having said that, if you get a significant quantity of bookings a year from a business, from a promotion rather, and then a rival promotion comes into the town where that business had success and starts running, well, I think it's, fair to not work for that promotion, just so you can support the people that have supported you and lined your wallet. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. But for anybody that's watching all of these interviews, if anybody is, I'm going to sound like a broken record, because I say the same thing in every one. I've asked almost everybody that has come through here, or people that I know that have gone other places like throughout the world of wrestling. They always tell me that if someone isn't paying, or unless someone is paying 100% of your bills, you should be working somewhere else. You should be allowed to go work wherever you want. Like, if you were working at a part-time job at Walmart, and they weren't paying 100% of your bills, Walmart's not going to stop you from getting a job at Canadian Tire to supplement your income.
I agree.
get that wrestling's different.
No, I
just,
agree exactly what you just said.
That's just the explanation I'm given most of the time, and that makes perfect sense to me.
It certainly does.
What do you...
I agree completely with that analogy.
Yeah.
But I'm going to throw another one at you.
Yeah.
Like, I'll kind of give you one too. Let's say I have a very, very specific business. Let's say I run a coffee shop, and there's a coffee shop competing across the street. If I can give you 25 hours a week at my coffee shop, and you want to get a job elsewhere, great. But if it's at that coffee shop across the street, that is contributing to something that could potentially hurt my business due to the specific nature of what it is that I sell.
Yeah, that makes total sense. No one's ever said that to me before.
So
that makes perfect sense.
That's my analogy.
Yeah.
I wish that every wrestler could work everywhere in the world and make as much money as possible and buy a fucking mansion.
Yeah.
That's just not realistic. With what's going on now, I've been offered to work for... I've been offered to work for IHW in Moncton.
You're good friends with one of the guys.
Oh man, Peter and I are.
Yeah.
I love Peter. Like man,
Yeah.
respect. Like man, you can't say enough good about him. Now Dave Boyce works there. Dave Boyce and I, despite what happens in our in-show personas, we're close friends. Also, he's been here a number of times. I've been to his place. Like,
you didn't throw him out the window? No.
Actually, one of the promos that he cut, challenging me to the Loser Leaves Town match, was filmed like right there. I had him over so I could kind of like direct him.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
He was like telling me how he's going to force me out of UCW in my own home.
That's awesome.
But it's just one of these things. Like Eric gave me the job in Moncton first.
Yeah.
Marcus Burke gave me the job in Moncton first. So to not hurt his business, I'll work for his in Moncton. It's by no means like, fuck, I felt bad being like, I'm sorry, Peter, but, I hope you understand.
Yeah.
Because pretty much any time I can do something that he does, I will.
Yeah.
But let's look at it like this, too. It makes sense that Mike Hughes wouldn't want anybody working in Charlottetown for a rival wrestling promotion if they were going to be working for Red Rock Wrestling. So I wouldn't do that to Mike.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do that to Eric. Yeah. And had I been under the employer...
Pretty much nobody runs PEI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's just say somebody did. Let's say somebody went into the Stratford Town Hall Gymnasium.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, I appreciate the offer, but Mike Hughes books me here, and I think that would directly negatively impact his business.
Yeah, 100%.
So since Eric was the one that brought me in, IHW had the chance for years. And this wasn't under the current, the current ownership. But under the previous ownership, they gave a guy my gimmick. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. That sucks, dude. Like, how are you going to...
Liberty, yeah. And then VCW or MSW, I don't know what they're called, gave someone else your gimmick too. Someone under a mask. I don't remember what they were called, but they did a Patriot gimmick.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like, that's not a reflection on Peter, on Titus, who's also like a great buddy of mine. Yeah. We text all the time. I love it. I have a picture of him in my home. You know what I mean? Like, but like, no, that's just my philosophy on it. If I was working there first and Eric offered me a position, I would be like, hey man, I'd love to, but they did it first. And Eric, they give me a lot of bookings, man. Yeah. They really look after me. They allow me a lot of really cool, like, creative liberties, and it's like, I'm happy working with Eric. We have the same vision. He consults me for a lot of things, and I really feel valued. Yeah. And again, it's not to say that with Peter and them I wouldn't. I know that if I were to go there, they would value me as well. It'd be a great experience. Having said that, I'm fine with the choice I made. I just wish that everybody makes money. Fuck, how could you not?
Yeah, and
that sounds like a real fucking no side of the fence kind of answer.
No,
but legitimately, dude, it's like, I just like Peter, Titus, Mike. I like Julian, but I also really like Eric.
Yeah.
I also really like, working with Marco. I think he's a fucking, like, he's awesome, dude. But it's like, that's just the way it is. That's the way the business is and always has been.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, like, defending stuff online, things like that, no, that doesn't make me happy.
Yeah.
So if it's not going to make me happy or not going to make me money, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, and I fully understand why would you work, like, it just splits the towns, or it splits the audience if you're working like this for the same promotion in the same towns. Why are they going to go to this show when they can go see you on this show, and vice versa? So I totally get, like, Halifax, Moncton, the big markets.
I'll even put it this way. Peter invited me to his house next weekend for a get-together, and a lot of their guys are going to be there. If I can swing it, I'm going to go. Because I like spending time with Peter. I love spending time with Peter and Titus and Mike. It's like, man, you know, if the opportunity came up to work with them in a town that wasn't ran by UCW, probably. I'd be like, hey, Eric, do you mind, you know, this and that? Fuck, now they're going to be like, okay, let's run Mac to Quack fucking campground. I'm kidding. Like, you know, I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to tread dangerously here, but that's so subjective. I doubt it's going to happen. You know?
Yeah, it's been around, like, way back when, like, Real Action Wrestling and ACW ran Halifax.
Yeah.
Nobody from Real Action Wrestling worked the ACW show, and vice versa. Later, a bunch of the guys left ACW and came to Real Action, and they still weren't going back and forth, right? So it's been around forever. It makes total sense in.
I think the coffee shop analogy is.
It does, and no one. I never really thought of that before. I've just always thought of job's a job, right?
Yeah,
like you.
I understand. I should say.
Yeah.
But no, I just.
The way you put it makes perfect sense to me.
It's tough for young guys, especially because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But truthfully, man, I don't think it's as high pressure of a situation as some people may let on.
Do you think it's smart for two promotions to run the same city so close together? Do you think it matters? Like, it's not like we have a huge. It's not like we're New York or Toronto.
Yeah, no, I understand.
We don't have a huge population.
We certainly don't. Ideally, there'd be more cooperation, but business is business.
Yeah.
That's just the facts of it. You know what I mean? Competition is healthy.
Yeah.
Fortunately, right now, we're in a huge boom period for wrestling.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's irrefutable.
Mm-hmm.
So
compared to 5 years ago, it's like night and day.
I agree.
Yeah.
So for both UCW and IHW to be viable in Moncton, that's cool. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That way, 20 guys can work their show, 20 guys can work the UCW show, and 40 guys make money.
Yeah.
Is it ideal? No, but it's like, do you really think that double the crowd would go to both shows? You know, it's a lot of the same people.
It is,
you know, so it's like...
Well, that's kind of what I meant. It's the same people that want to go to both shows.
Right.
Now perhaps, like I've seen online a lot of my posts that people are upset that they're going to have to choose because they can't afford to go to both shows, right?
Yeah, that's
like ticket prices aren't $10 anymore. Like
I know.
When you were going to shows,
I know.
Sometimes they're $25. Not all families can, and they have kids. Not all families can afford $50, $75 twice a month now. So one show or the other is going to lose out.
But you know what, man? If you're going to a theater and you want to see Bohemian Rhapsody, but you also want to see Aquaman,
can make a choice.
Got to make a choice.
Yeah.
And hopefully the fans just get whatever they want.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, that's the most important thing.
Do you think the loss of certain people from UCW will hurt the promotion, or do you think that they have enough? Suave brings in a lot of amazing outside talent.
He does.
But do you think the loss of some of the local people that the fans love, such as Madison Miles or Dave Boyce or now Kobe Christ, like a lot of people didn't even know till I did Kobe's interview that he was done with UCW. I got a lot of questions, a lot of comments like, what are you talking about? I can't believe he's gone. He's my favorite guy to watch. Do you think that hurts, or do you think Suave brings in enough outside talent to cover that up? Not necessarily cover that up, but
I understand.
Replace.
Emotions aside, business only.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Refute me if you want. I don't think anybody was enough of a draw that it will greatly affect the numbers so much that business will be down as a result.
Yeah. I would argue that with one person.
Madison?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's...
I've been...
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Can I finish? Yeah. That's a very unique thing. And that's specifically too, I would say that's for the market of Halifax.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
100%.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So...
I've been to shows in Halifax that didn't have her. 30 people, then same promotion the next year, 275. All her.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to consider that was also in like 2016 in February before, because there's been times where UCW's been dog shit.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
100%.
So that was during a UCW dog shit period.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that doesn't come across like I'm downplaying that accomplishment of drawing a whole fucking crowd.
Yeah.
Because for anybody, that's crazy. But for a 16-year-old...
250 people that came to see her.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But having said that, you know, nowadays, with the climate that we have, I don't think it'll be as dramatic. In fact, I know it won't be. The numbers are still there.
Yeah.
Do I miss Madison in locker rooms? I like having her around. Do I miss Covey in locker rooms? I will. I haven't had to experience it yet.
Yeah.
And Dave Boyce, I think he brings a lot to the table.
Yeah.
I don't know the real story.
let
me rephrase it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I've heard both sides.
Yeah,
and it's like both are very credible. Like, you know, I love them all.
Yeah. I'm sure it's just in the middle somewhere, right?
Yeah, and it's just like, for me, man, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and think about it too much. I'm not going to think about it too much because it's like, I care about all of them. I'm happy with where I am, so I will continue to do that.
Yeah.
But if they choose to do something else, or in their, you know, based on the way they articulate, they were forced to do so, whatever the case may be, in wrestling, I'm happy. I'm a happy dude. The only thing that would make me happier is if I was back in Red Rock Wrestling. Hey, Mike, I love you, man. Please bring me back. It'd be great to do shows with you because they're fun. But, you know, dude, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you know, it sucks that we lost Kobe. It does suck. I love having Kobe around. I love having Dave around. I love having Titus around. I love having Brody around.
Do you think everyone could just... What do you think would... I didn't ask this question to anybody. What do you think would happen if everyone worked together? Do you think if UCW and IHW and Red Rock, all ECPW, whatever, just made a new, like what Real Action Wrestling was back in the day, do you think that, egos aside, do you think that that would be better for business, or do you think it's better having 5 different promotions?
5's inflated. There's like 2. Plus, Red Rock on the island is its own thing.
Yeah.
That's a very unique market.
Yeah. But there's, I mean, you're right. There are 2 that run all the time, but there's also ACWA that runs some shows.
Yep.
There's ECPW that runs occasionally.
Yeah, but ECPW is just
2 in New Brunswick.
ECPW is IHW and UCW combined, and it's fucking sweet.
It is, but that market doesn't get that.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean?
But honestly, man, it's just like I said, there's now 40 guys in the Maritimes making money wrestling. There would be 20 guys at that time.
Yeah,
and it's like
they all couldn't work for that one promotion.
And if 20 guys were out of a job, they'd start up their own promotion. Yeah. It's just not going to happen unless we murdered them.
But yeah, so no, you're right. There would be. It probably wouldn't even be 20 guys. Like Real Action didn't book 20 guys on their shows.
That was just an arbitrary.
No, I get it. But that's my point. Was there'd be 40 guys without work, and you're right. They would start something else up. So not everybody. But that aside, do you think if they took the top 10, 15 talented guys in the Maritimes, that they could run a promotion and do as successfully as they did back in the day?
No.
No? How come?
Just too many variables.
Yeah.
Too many different opinions, truthfully. I don't think it would work.
Just from like the egos aside? Or?
I think ego is a harsh word. I just think like...
What about the market?
The market could support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the market could support it. I don't think it would be as regular as the Real Action Wrestling days. I think that was a very unique pocket of time. And the reason why I say that is just because there are so many avenues of entertainment now that wrestling isn't as prominently featured in the mainstream choices of entertainment as it was back then.
Yeah.
But practically, no, I think people would have different opinions. I think people would want to do different things. Who would book it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who would pay for it? And then the one guy that didn't get to book, he'd be like, fuck this. And then the other guy that did get to book, he'd be like, fuck you. And then it's us or them, dude. And then it would break up and we'd be where we are right now.
Before social media existed, the Maritimes were drawing bigger crowds than they are now on a more consistent basis. I'm talking the Real Action days, the Grand Prix Wrestling days. Predates the real internet, right?
Yes.
The Maritimes were drawing way more people on a consistent basis than they are now. Why is it, with the help of social media, that things aren't drawing as well? You'd think there would be more people, not less.
I understand. Again, because if you want to do something fun, you don't even have to leave your fucking couch, dude. You know what I mean? There's Netflix. Netflix is $9.99 a month, and the whole family can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whereas wrestling is $25, $50 a ticket. Well, not 50, but like, you know.
It is when you're on the show, brother.
Yeah, brother. Ooh, brother. Oh. There's many more viable options for entertainment now that cost a lot less.
Well, why can't wrestling be one of those entertainment? If Def Leppard's coming here in July, they'll probably sell 10,000 tickets or 8,000 tickets or whatever. To
notoriety too, man.
Scotiabank Center.
Def
Why
Leppard
can't you get wrestling to that spot?
Because Def Leppard started in the 80s.
Yeah, wrestling's been here since like the 50s.
Yeah, but I haven't been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Phil Collins been playing fucking guitar for Def Leppard since like the mid 80s.
Right.
Def Leppard is a well-known brand. So wrestling is not a brand; it is an avenue of entertainment. WWE would sell at the Scotiabank Center.
Yeah.
But it's entirely different, you know. Why can't Terratune from back in the day or Blackmore now sell at the Scotiabank Center? Because the notoriety isn't quite there. So those are local bands, by the way.
What was the difference between Real Action and now? Well, why could they get 1,000 people to Exhibition Park?
I think it was because back then, people knew 5 years later that I'd be debuting, so they wanted to see where wrestling was in the Maritimes. It's like a BC and AD kind of thing, right? Yeah. No, I'm kidding, but I don't know, man. It was a boom period for wrestling back then. Mm-hmm. 99, 2000, 2001, Rock in Austin. It was fucking huge. Yeah. And that was still at a time where the entertainment wasn't as widely available. So people would go to that because it was along the same lines of what they saw on TV. Yeah. So that's why it was viable back then. Now it's in a boom period again, but it's a little bit different. The boom period isn't necessarily just for the WWE because they're always going to be successful. The boom period's for like your Joey Ryans, your Joey Janela's, your Bullet Club. Exactly. Yeah. It's for these shows. So that's why like you're seeing a lot more frequent. UCW ran what, like almost 50 shows last year?
A lot, yeah, something like that.
So I mean, man, that's pretty darn good. Yeah. It's not a full summer season of like 60 shows in 2 months. Yep. But you know, it's spread out more. It's just it's a different market. It's a different time. That's 18 years ago. Yep.
What has to be done to bring all? What can you do, or can it be done to bring those types of numbers back on a consistent basis? Like what can a promoter do to get the word out more when there's more options available now than there was back then?
You'd have to do a really intense like cost benefit analysis. So radio, billboards, TV, social media. Is it worth it to expand all those resources, or to spend on all those resources to get 1,000 people? Prices of services like that have shot up dramatically as well. So you have to...
Yeah, it's way different.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you hear that buzzing,
Is there like a helicopter in here? Someone have a drone outside?
Who's cutting their lawn 9 floors down? No, what I mean by that, man, is just like... Would you rather pay $1,000 and earn $5,000, or would you rather pay $10,000 and earn $12,000? Yeah. It's the same thing on just a larger scale, you know? Over time, will it pay off? Maybe. It's hard to say. So why not take a moderate risk to get an above moderate return rather than take a large risk to get a return that's kind of incremental? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just my philosophy as to maybe the why.
Yeah.
The reason, like, how do you do it? I don't fucking know. If I did, I wouldn't be doing it, but I'd recommend it to somebody that wanted to put the money up. But how to do it, I just don't know if that type of juice is worth the squeeze. Yeah. You know, and for consistency, I don't think it's really viable. I would like to see every show do as well as the UCW Super Show does every year.
That's my next question. In case you're wondering what I'm doing, it's writing down thoughts that come into mind.
Yeah, of course.
So my next question.
You're just writing, what a dick. What a dick. What a dick.
247, asshole. No.
Yeah.
UCW runs 1 or 2 huge shows every year. Like the UCW 10th anniversary, I think it was, drew like 1,200 people. The 11th anniversary drew like 800 people. Yep. Something along those lines.
Right.
A lot more than their regular shows.
Yeah.
Why isn't every show promoted? Like they only run Halifax once a month.
Right.
Why isn't every show promoted as a huge show. Clearly, you can get almost 1,000 people out.
Right.
But so why isn't it's the effort. I talk to a lot of people. I know a lot of the fans that come to the regular shows. So I go around and ask people that I don't recognize, how did you hear about this? Why are you here now?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we never knew wrestling existed. We didn't know it was here. I go to Devon shows when they draw way more people at Doolittle's than they usually do. I'm like, how did you hear about it? Oh, just a billboard outside. We didn't know wrestling was here before.
Okay.
So why isn't every show promoted as a big show? Like Ring of Honor does it, well, why isn't it done here?
Good question.
Yeah.
Here's my. I got a couple different philosophies,
Okay.
Or different theories, I should say. The first one, cost benefit. Okay, so is it really worth it to do that many shows a year? But I think the Super Show could be even be seen as a form of advertising for the other moderate shows throughout the year. So what that means is, like, on the last one, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Jack Swagger, Short Sleeve Samson, Bushwhacker Luke, Tony Atlas. There's 6 names, plus Brody Steele.
Yeah.
Titus, like those are like.
Sin was here. I mean, now he might not be.
Yeah, no, sorry. Oh my goodness.
He's a big name.
You
can just list the whole roster.
There's but I mean, like, those are fly-ins.
Yeah.
That's like 6 now with Sin, 7 fly-ins.
Yeah.
Bate and Dunn from the UK.
Yeah.
So, in my estimation, there probably wasn't much of a profit turned at that show. However, there was something for everybody. So if you do a smaller show with something for some, it's not going to draw as big of a crowd. So that could even be seen as like, hey, UCW exists, everyone. Everybody come on in. And then you put on a good enough show where everybody comes back, or you put on a show where, like, hopefully a chunk of them will come back.
Yeah. But that doesn't seem to happen.
It doesn't. Here's my theory on that too. If people go to a Super Show, it's like an all-day fucking experience. If it were me, brother, I would make it so it's the same length as your run-of-the-mill show, 2 to 2.5 hours.
I agree.
Now, a lot of the same guys wouldn't get booked, or if they did, it would be in a battle royal type situation. So what you could do is you could show, this is what to expect when you go to a UCW show. This is the experience that you can expect going forward. Because it's all fine and dandy to have a million fly-ins. That's great. It's super cool. You get all these autographs for the fans. They're excited. But at the same time, they're exhausted. At that show, I wrestled on the pre-show in a cage match, went home, showered, ate supper, had a beer, took a picture of myself in my robe having a beer, put it online, came back, and I lived in the South End. This was in Spryfield. That's like a 15, 20-minute drive each way. And when I got back, the main show has just started.
Yeah.
That's a long fucking day to sit in an old building, dude.
Yeah. I agree.
So it's like, that's how I would do it differently.
Yeah.
Would that work? I don't know. A lot of trial and error.
Well, why isn't the effort put in to do that?
I don't know, man.
If you were running it, would you do that? Because I know if I had the money.
If I had the money, I wouldn't fucking promote wrestling.
I would. But oh yeah.
Fuck that.
I would
That's put it on myself.
I've only done it half a dozen times.
I know. I've promoted a number of shows too, but they were small shows.
But I would
moderate investment versus moderate.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to do small unless it was a bar. That's a different situation.
That's fine.
But I would want every
motivations
show to be huge.
I think our motivations behind running shows would be different.
Yeah.
Yours would be to promote these huge events that would hopefully help stimulate the wrestling economy.
Yeah. Because I think you...
But let me ask you this. Those half a dozen shows that you've run that have been these huge investments, these huge investments of time, money, and effort, have they stimulated the wrestling economy at that time?
There was nothing at that time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not by any means to diminish your efforts, because your shows were remarkable.
Yeah.
But if that was the intention, that was a failure.
Yeah. I don't think it would have been if you would have continued to run.
Why didn't you? Why didn't you put in the effort?
Because the person I wanted to run with didn't want to run anymore.
Okay.
I was running shows with Sarah Dunsworth.
Right.
If Sarah Dunsworth was to come here tomorrow and be like, let's start a promotion and run shows, I'm all in.
Okay.
But if she was out, I'm out.
Okay.
Right, and she didn't want to. We had a third show booked, but it just didn't happen because it was with me, Sarah, Pete, and Rick. We were going to run a third show. Like, me and Sarah ran the first one by ourselves, and then the 4 of us ran the next show, and then the 4 of us were going to run another show. But I don't know what happened with Pete and Rick,
Yeah.
but I know Sarah didn't want to do it,
Okay.
so I was out.
Cool.
But if she would have stuck around, I think we could have did something. Special.
Well, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all eat pudding and pie.
But what your thing was, are you willing to spend $5,000 and make so much money, or to spend $10,000 and only make $12,000, right? So you're only making $2,000. I think eventually you would end up making more. I think that's the goal. You're not going to make $20,000 off a show instantly.
I understand. Yeah, of course.
But as long as you're making something, you can always grow to make your next show.
But how big of an investment is that? That's like a.
You have to be willing to take the risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's
why I won't do it now.
Exactly.
I would if Sarah would, because I'd be confident we could do it together.
Right.
I don't have the confidence that I could do it myself or with anybody else. I've been approached 100 times to run shows, and I say no every single time because I won't do it with others.
I just want to rewind for a second. I hope that the way I answered it wasn't like trying to be condescending, but it was just like
no. I didn't take I love the back and forth. Like that's what I'm talking about. I'm not taking it like that at all. It's just
and it's just like,
and I hope you're not taking it from me.
Not even
either,
a little
right?
bit. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want you to know that that's like not me being like, if it's in buds for candy. That's just me being a smart ass. Because that's funny to me.
Totally get it. And you're not wrong. I could say a year later after my first show, it had drawn 5,000 people. I could say, who knows, right?
Yeah.
It's a if and a. Maybe I would have drawn 2. Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me, when I ran probably about 6 or 7 shows myself,
Yeah.
goal was like anywhere from 250 to 300. Building capacity was 210.
Yeah.
Filled it a couple times.
You did it.
Got half of it a couple times. But the main motivation behind me running shows was to give other young guys experience.
Yeah.
Now they're doing that with UCW VIP.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I did it, was to not essentially stimulate the wrestling economy in general, but to help younger generation get more experience and also have some fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wrestling's fun.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of, I see why our models are different, vastly different, and that's why.
Yeah.
You know.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's I say it all the time. Wrestling is like Baskin Robbins. There's 31.
Yeah.
There's 31 flavors, and there's something in it for everyone. And just because I say one thing, it doesn't mean yours is wrong. It's just we see certain things differently. But that's why wrestling is so great.
That's it.
We all have the same passion and want the exact same thing. We just may think of different ways to get there. It doesn't mean yours is wrong. It doesn't mean mine's wrong.
In fact, I even, to kind of retrace back to training, I even tell my students, if somebody else tells you something, the certain way to do something, if it's safe and it looks good and you feel more comfortable doing that way, then just because I showed you a certain way doesn't mean that I'm right. Say somebody comes in and shows someone how to throw a back suplex, but it's different than I do it for some reason. Is it safe? Does it look good? Is it easier for you? Please do it. Mm-hmm. You know, my goodness, man, it's such a subjective art form that you can't have that my way or the highway type of mentality.
Yeah.
There are certain things that you really shouldn't falter on,
but
at the same time, you know, subject to change, you know, subject to opinion, subject to taste.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that bump differently. There's people that bump with their hands out, with their elbows back. Doesn't mean one's wrong over the other.
Exactly.
It's just what feels good for you, and is it safe?
And does it look good?
You just said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to get to the fan question portion of this interview. Just let me bring them up here.
Before we do that, I'll just say this too, like the moderate investment versus potential moderate or even return for UCW, it's resulted in a really large number of shows and provided a really invaluable experience for a lot of young guys. So regardless of whether or not this has a long term, I think it will. Given my experience, it's doing good. And I'll say it from my perspective, I'm very happy. It's a great lot. You've been there. It's a very positive and uplifting environment, and I think that the fans get their money's worth.
And I'm not, wasn't.
And no, and I know, and I'm sorry if I implied that you said anything different at all.
No.
I just wanted to kind of defend that business model.
And I agree. And I'm not even a little bit trying to say what UCW or what IHW or Red Rock Wrestling is doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And anything, clearly what Mike does in PEI works. He draws 500-600 people a show with just himself, right? IHW has done extremely well since 2005 in the Moncton area. UCW in Halifax, before Eric took over, was drawing nothing. 30. I've been to shows when there was less than 30 people there. A year later, they had 1,262 or whatever it was at the Ryback at the 10th anniversary show. So whatever.
I call it the Riddick show because fucking
the Riddick show. Dude, he's so sweet.
Dude, man, when fucking Josh and Ryback were face to face, and Josh was like 3 inches taller, bigger shirtless than Ryback was in a jacket, I was like, fuck yeah, that's dude, amazing. That's my boy. That's one of my best friends, and he showed up bigger than the big guy. I was like, yes, that's fucking sick. But no disrespect to Ryback, he's also very big. Yeah.
Not big enough. No.
I said Riddick should get a shirt that says the bigger guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fucking amazing. Good, eh?
But clearly, whatever Eric is doing is 100% right.
Yep.
And 100% working for what he's leaning towards. Those crowds are up crazy amounts of numbers for any business. To go from drawing 30 to 1,300. I don't know what that percentage, but that turnover, it's huge.
It is. And truthfully, man, it deserves commendation.
It does.
You know, so that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
In a year. All I can say is like my students get a great place to learn. People get a great outlet to be creative, and I really am happy wrestling there. It's nothing against anybody else. I'm sure that atmosphere is the same there, but where I am, I'm just very happy.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up, and then like. You know, it's really nice. You know, it's a good atmosphere.
And I'm never trying to like drive my point home as my point's the right point. I just love talking different opinions on wrestling.
Me too.
I could talk it with everybody forever without actually getting angry at them. I just love hearing people's different opinions because then it opens my mind and be like, what Troy said is right. Like what I'm saying might not actually be as accurate as I thought it was. Right?
I think, and it works great. And that's the same for me. I'll say it now. It's like I don't as outwardly project my passion for wrestling because I think in the last 13 years I've proven it. I love wrestling. You know, it's clear. A lot of guys will like project how serious they are. That's great. That's awesome. I love that they're happy about it. I've done it. I'm still doing it. So rather than sit here and talk about how much I love it, it's like, I'll just prove it, man. That's what I've been doing my whole time in here. It's like, if I've ever had an opportunity, chances are it's because I've done something to earn it. You know what I mean? I'm never anybody's first choice.
Yeah.
So, maybe now.
Maybe not. It is there. All right, the fan questions. Number 1 from Shane Wilkie. Thanks for watching all these videos, Shane. You comment on all of them. Roth or Hager?
Oh man, David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
Brother.
Van Halen, eh?
Yeah. It's not to take away from Sammy Hagar. He's obviously a musical genius, you know, very talented. His song "Winner Takes It All" was the featured track in Sylvester Stallone's "Over the Top." That's pretty tight. Also, Scott Norton's theme song. He's pretty tight. But David Lee Roth is Van Halen, even more than Eddie Van Halen.
That is Scott Norton's theme?
Sammy Hagar did. Winner Takes It All. Yeah, from Over the Top.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. Maybe you will. It's from Squishy. All he says is very nice. How much? Do you get what he's talking about? Because I don't. And it's liked by Vance Pizanza.
Very nice. How much? I don't know.
You don't get the reference? Sometimes these things are inside jokes, right?
Yeah. Very nice. How much? I might have recalled. I don't know. It's probably something. What the fuck? Very nice. Sorry, dude. No.
No, I know. That's fine. Tyrion, Big T. Once he asked Cody the same question: 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I will provide the same answer as Covey because I agree completely. I would rather fight 100 duck-sized horses. If they come in waves, perfect. Waves of 10, too easy. Waves of 20, that's a challenge. But a horse-sized duck with their screw penis, fuck that, dude. Like, what's my arsenal here? Is it bare hands? There's some.
I think it's just you.
I don't know, man. They have a big, intimidating screw. Fucking. You ever see a duck's dick?
I don't think so. I'm not going to agree.
Man, yeah, no, I'll take the horses. I'll take the horses. They can't fly.
All right.
Fly and fucking rub their huge screw dick on my head. No.
Zachary Murphy. 3 favorite matches of all time that inspired you to become a wrestler? That's a good question.
Oh, that's a great
What are the
question.
3 matches that inspired you to become a wrestler? I'm going to add that to my thing.
That's a great question.
Stolen, Zachary.
Yeah,
Thanks, bud.
great question, dude. Shawn Michaels versus the 1-2-3 Kid from March 1996 on Raw. That was the first time I ever watched wrestling with my family, like my mom and my sister and stuff. And like seeing their reaction to Shawn Michaels, like he was cute, he was cool, and like I was like, man, like the girls in the crowd liked him. He got cheered, he did all this cool stuff, but he was still funny and like charismatic. And it's like, I want to be like him. Mm-hmm. I want people to see me the way they see him. Another one was Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit from the Royal Rumble 2003.
One of the greatest matches ever.
Man.
Oh, I love that match.
And again, that's not my style of wrestling. If I were to do anything like that, it would just be a poor imitation. Yep. There's only one Kurt Angle and there's only one Chris Benoit, and I am not them. Yep. And the third one, probably Bret Hart versus Owen Hart at WrestleMania 10. Yeah. I loved Owen Hart growing up, man. Like Bret too, but like, man, I loved Owen growing up. I just thought he was cool. Like, I know he's the bad guy, but just like the short legs thing, like just everything about him, I was like, man, he's cool. Yeah. And he's good, you know? So those 3.
That's funny. 2 of those 3 matches, the last 2 would be 2 I would pick as well. As like my favorite matches to watch.
What would be your alternate or your third?
I was a really big fan. I don't remember a lot of it now, but I was a really big fan of Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero. Their 2 out of 3 falls, loser leaves town match in ECW.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it?
Is that the one that was like at the fairground?
It was at maybe.
I don't know, but I saw one. It was at a fairground, like during some carnival.
The crowd's chanting, "Please don't go" the entire time.
No, that's not the one I'm referencing. Okay. I must not have seen it. But there was one where it was Dean Malenko, and they just called him the Shooter. Yeah. And he was wrestling Eddie Guerrero, and like there was this one guy like on drugs like, in the front row. Like every time Dean Malenko do this, he'd be like, "Whoa, dude!" Like this Matt Riddle looking guy, like turning around to his girlfriend, and she couldn't give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But he was like freaking out. Like every time Dean Malenko would do something, he'd turn around and there was a hard camera, and he'd be like, like he'd turn around. Then Dean Malenko lost to Eddie Guerrero, and the guy's like visibly distraught. And it's like he must have been on some kind of trip, and like the Shooter, Dean Malenko was. Yeah. Anyway, but that was a cool match. But that's off topic. But yeah, those. Well, great question, dude.
If you haven't seen it before, Google Malenko versus Guerrero, nice. 2 to 3 falls, ECW, loser leave town. It's from like 95 or something, 94, somewhere around there. Sure. So good. Derek Harpel, I think he's from PEI.
He is. I know every wrestling fan in the world.
It's so strange, like going to shows. I know that guy. Yeah. That guy. Will you please make your return to Red Rock Wrestling in 2019? His question is favorite Red Rock match and opponent. He said or opponent, but I'm going to put and opponent.
From 2015 in Montague, I wrestled Cowboy. It was a fun match, man. It was really good. We did a tag match later that night. It was me and Steen versus Cowboy and Bradford Montague. But the first match was like my night was me against Mike, and like I used the flag to like he put me over. I beat him on PEI. Yeah. So I was like, fuck, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was a nice rub. And like anytime you wrestle Mike, it's like. It's going to be a challenge, but not a challenge like, oh, fuck, I gotta carry this match. It's like a challenge like, he's so good, you gotta keep up. Yeah. So I love wrestling him. Man, you know what, dude? We did this like 3-day tour for ECPW last summer. Mike and I, close, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I fucking love spending time with that guy. I'm going to the island this weekend, and we're gonna hopefully hook up and like hang out, maybe lift weights, have a drink or something. But yeah, no, definitely him. Easy.
I remember it was really earlier in your career. The show was at Doolittle's.
Me versus Mike in April of 2009.
There you go. And Mike was booked to go over. Mm-hmm. And Mike was like, I don't need to go over. I'm not going to be here again. And Devin was like, no, I know, but you're the name. He's like, no, put Troy over. Troy's a hometown guy. And you just don't see that very often. You know, Mike was like 100%. Let's put Sex and Phoenix over tonight. He'll be back here before me. Yep. More than likely, someone else is like, okay, I'm winning, and I'm winning. You know what I mean? Like, but
no, you don't forget such a good dude for that. Don't forget stuff like that.
Yeah, right? No, it's awesome. That's probably why it sticks out because you don't see it ever, right? Chris McDonald, who I believe was like brought in for like the All In pay-per-view to help with production and stuff. He made graphics and things.
Oh, cool.
I think this is him.
Hey, brother, can you get me a job with them, brother?
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this is him. He made most of the graphics for like StarCast and all that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Nice.
He's from PEI as well.
Good job. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's sick.
If this isn't you, I apologize. If this is you, congratulations. I'm pretty sure it's him. Best Michael Bolton song of all time.
How can we be lovers?
Andre LeBlanc. What was going on in your mind when you tried to cut Chip Chambers' hair and the scissors didn't work?
Fuck. 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 No, I was like, is there any way that I can like maybe pick his hair up and like cut a little bit and then it'll like I can throw it and make it, I don't know. But yeah, I said fuck a bunch in my head. I was very upset.
Peter Smith.
Ooh.
When you got caught looking in my water bottle like a creep, did you see any classified information?
I'll never tell.
Lincoln Steen has a comment, not a question. He says he will relish the opportunity to speak highly about himself for an unselfish amount of time.
Regarding me?
Yeah.
Oh, he's absolutely correct. 100%.
Andre LeBlanc again.
Nice. His was a good question last time. I'm intrigued to see what he has to say next.
It's funny that it came in this order. Dip your fries in ketchup or cover them?
Oh my goodness.
Sabotage got a question about hot dogs.
Oh, I bet they did. No, man, I would dip my fries in ketchup. Anybody that covers their fries in ketchup is a sociopath.
What if you do it like 50-50?
No.
Like sometimes cover, sometimes dip?
No.
No?
No. Not an option.
Cody Boggs. Who is your favorite trainee and why is it him?
What's my favorite trainee? Who I like the most? I don't know, man. I like them all, dude. Yeah, no. They're all good.
They're all good?
Well,
who do you think has been the most, I don't want to say successful.
Big T.
Big T?
Yeah.
Who? Yeah. It's because of the NSPW stuff or just...
That and, like, he's also done stuff in Maine. It's just a real concentrated effort. Mm-hmm. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, because he worked for VCW even before he got booked with, like, UCW.
And who's the hardest working, though? It's either T or Casey.
Yeah. Those... It's funny, we talked about this in Sabotage, how those two guys used to do like everything, and now kind of Big T and Casey has taken over. Not that those guys don't work hard anymore, but Big T and Casey are always there before, and they're the last ones to leave. They don't complain, or if they do complain, they still do it anyway, right? They're head down and they work. They don't. I don't think a lot of people give them enough credit, or a lot of people don't know how hard those two guys work.
Well, for anybody who's in the business locally and doesn't know that, Big T and Casey work super hard.
Yeah.
If you have an opportunity to have them at your show in any capacity, I can't recommend them enough. And I would stake my reputation on them.
I agree 100%. Vance Bazanson, biggest pet peeve of maritime wrestling. Lincoln Steen commented on it and said he knows this one. What is your biggest pet peeve with maritime wrestling?
Honestly, man, now really nothing. See, this is gonna be such like a lame thing to say, but like, I only think of wrestling positively. If something negative happens in wrestling, I usually don't allow it to occupy my headspace. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry that that's such a non-answer. But at the same time, it's like, man, I've got so many things on the go now where it's just like, I don't... My mental state, it's unstable. You know what I mean? Like, I take antidepressants, I do all that stuff. So for me to sit here and be upset about trivial things happening in wrestling, I don't have the capability to do that anymore. Are there things that I see that I would like to be done differently? Not that I can think of, but if there was, I'd probably just bring it up. Yeah. What do I have to lose? You know what I mean? Like, let's say, for example, a young guy at a show, like, butted somebody. I mean, like, hey, man, sorry to bother you, but, just so you know, that's probably not the best way to go about that. Do you mind if I just take a sec to kind of explain why? And as the guy that, like, with more experience, I could just go and be like, you fucking mark, brother. It's like, nah.
Yeah.
So that's just how I do it now. Positive affirmations. And trying to get everybody kind of on the same team in terms of like how to promote that show that they're on. I don't fucking know, man.
Kevin Daniels.
Oh, a pet peeve of mine in general, I'll give you one. People that chew with their mouths open. Fucking close it. Fucking close it, dude. Come on.
Is that what Steven's referencing?
Maybe.
Kevin Daniels. Which independent wrestler, other than yourself, do you respect the most? That's part one. Which independent wrestler do you have the most respect for?
I don't know. I'll change this question a bit. If I could wrestle any wrestler on the independent scene, I'd pick Jushin Liger.
Yeah.
I'd like to wrestle him so much. I had a Jushin Liger mask when I was a kid. Like Hayabusa too, he passed away unfortunately. But like anybody that I could like realistically have a match with that I would like to more than anybody, Jushin Liger.
I got to see him wrestle in person once. It was such a treat. It was way past his prime, but it was still such a treat.
Yeah. And what's cool is like
he's like 60.
He'd still do a bunch of cool shit.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I think him now and me now would be a fun match.
Yeah.
Just with like the contrasting characters and stuff. Plus like he'd do his greatest hits. I'd hit him with a chair. You know what I mean? Like, but no, I think that's not necessarily respect the most, but I think I'd have the most fun wrestling him. And I have a lot of respect for him that's dated back to my teenage years.
The second part of his question is dream opponent, you kind of answer that, from WWE and independent wrestling.
So independent, Liger. WWE, Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Greatest masked wrestler of all time. That is not an opinion.
Yeah, no, hands down.
And then honestly,
did you see the match he had last night?
Yeah, I did. Taste is subjective, but no, he's the greatest masked wrestler of all time. Sorry.
Yeah. What are your biggest goals and biggest regrets since you've become a wrestler?
Who asked that?
Greg Harris, sorry.
Oh, man.
And I think maybe he means biggest accomplishments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll answer all three. Biggest goals. The only other goal that I'd really like to accomplish would be to wrestle in Japan. That's something I'd really like to do. Am I putting forth the maximum effort to do that right now logistically? No. But do I train every day in the gym and bust my ass and put on size? Yes. Do I think I'd be capable of doing it? Depending on the level? Yes. My biggest accomplishment, my 3 international tours, my open invite to go back and wrestle in the UK whenever I want. And biggest regrets? None.
No regrets?
None.
Next question. Connor Smith. Looking back, did you think you would still be wrestling as long as you have?
Yes.
I saw him. Where did they go? Tim Reed. Why is he so damn handsome?
My mummy is the most beautiful woman in the world, and I get my looks from her.
And Covey Steele. Covey Christ.
Nice.
Favorite road trip songs?
That's a good one, man. There's a lot, dude. Back in like the...
Yeah, I think you've got the most comments so far.
Pardon me?
I think you've got the most comments for newbies so far.
No, man, like I like Akon. That was one that I subjected Mike Hughes to a number of times in my early days. Acorn, as he would call him. But man, me and Covey driving in my Ford F-150 in the mountains of Cape Breton. There's only one answer to that question, brother, and that's Alan motherfucking Jackson, baby. Greatest hits, greatest shits. What's up?
All right, now I've got a couple more questions here from
Cool.
me. Who's the best wrestler you've ever seen?
With whom I've shared a locker room?
Nope, just in general, like all time.
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle?
Shawn Michaels too.
Shawn
Those
Michaels?
two.
Yeah.
They're my favorites of all time because I enjoy their stuff more than anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been over to the UK now.
Yeah.
3 times?
3 times.
3 times. How compare the wrestling scene over there to the wrestling scene over here?
In my experiences,
There's a lot more shows.
There's a lot more shows. There's a lot of promotions, and there's a lot more promotions for a smaller landmass. But they also have the infrastructure and population to support it. There's good, there's bad. Luckily, I was mainly part of Good Cruise when I went over there. Oh, only part of Good Cruise. I've done a few subcontracted shows that were kind of shit. But a lot of their guys, it's just their job. And they've done so many reps, they've done so many shows that they're just dudes. You know what I mean? Like, they take it seriously, but You know, it's very similar to here in a sense, but it's just so much more frequent that there's no BS. There's no like, oh, I wish I was getting pushed here. No, you go to work. You go to work, you do the ring, you do the show, you take the ring, you move on. Sometimes for me, I was fortunate enough that I get to do 2 shows in one day. Yeah. And that was actually a very regular occurrence. Do my show, finish the last match, main event, brother, get out my fucking sweatpants over my gear, hoodie over my gear, grab my suitcase, run to the car, get in the car, drive 2 hours, get out, undress, go wrestle. So the frequency and the professionalism.
Now, a tour over here these days is generally 3-4 shows. How long are the tours over there? They're much longer, right?
Yeah. Summer season over there, it's like fucking 2-3 months. Wrestling once, twice a day.
Every day.
1 to 2 shows a day, likely 2 to 4 matches a day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's much more frequent.
You'll wrestle more in a month over there than the most people here will wrestle in years. Is that like safe to say?
I think that's.
And that's not a knock on them. That's just the frequency of shows.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing that I think kind of gets overlooked too is like around 2009 to like 2011, UCW ran a lot of long tours.
They did.
So I just wanted to kind of pump that up a bit. That's where I get a lot of my early experience on the road. Like all over the Maritimes and Atlantic provinces on the road for 7 to 10 days at a time. That wasn't an uncommon thing. Same with LCW back when they ran. So
MSW did too. Did you do any of theirs?
A couple, but
I know you don't necessarily get along with the promoter or anything like that.
Well,
but they still ran like 30 shows. And
they did. It was just a different business model.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not going to sit here and disparage him.
No.
It's just. I am a Sega Genesis, and he is a Super Nintendo controller. Super Nintendo is also good. It just doesn't. It's not compatible.
Yeah, I wasn't even talking about the tours. I just meant that they did exist.
Yeah, absolutely. They certainly did exist. Balloons exist too.
if you could put one match on a DVD right now to show somebody what you do, what match would you choose?
Oh man, I'd have to go back in time and set up a camera for it. Me versus Stevie Starr from the King of 10B tournament in summer of 2015. Everything was just...
Over in England?
Yeah, Wales.
Wales?
Everything was just on. And it was like a tournament show.
Yeah.
Man. That match, if I were to watch it back, I'd probably nitpick and tear a bunch of things apart. But sometimes wrestling is magic, and that was the most magical wrestling I've ever been a part of.
Awesome.
It was remarkable.
There's not on film anywhere? That sucks.
But I remember it.
Yeah.
It was,
I wish I could see it.
Buddy, oh man.
Who do you think is the best wrestler in the Maritimes right now? A lot of people have a hard time with that, so you can answer who do you think is the best, or who is your favorite guy to watch?
Favorite guy to watch?
Yeah.
Marco.
Yeah.
Does he count? Because I know he's from...
Oh, yeah. He's from New Brunswick.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's from Lamar. Or, but...
Shipping, Lake somewhere up there.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, I'm shocked he's not on television.
Oh, Titus, too. Titus is also one of my favorite guys. Yeah. Titus, the thing I like about Titus is he's just been amazing forever. He's fucking good, man. Titus and Marco.
Yeah.
Easy.
If the WWE Performance Center was around when you were first starting out, or it was an option for you to go train there, would you have taken that earlier on in your career? Now it's probably not as much of an option. They have like an age limit or whatever.
Yeah.
But is that something that you would have considered, or is it even that something that you are still considering?
Hard to say, man. You know what I mean? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Was your goal, like, when you started to WWE?
be on WWE absolutely. Television? But then, like, after a few years, I was like, you know what, though, man? It's like I see their guys come through, and it's like the average career at that time, like around 2010 to 2013, was like 2.5 years in the company, and like you get so many bitter people, and it's like, oh man, do I really want that? Like to be on top for a second and then lose it? You know, goals change.
Yeah.
England became my focus. The UK became my focus, and I accomplished it.
Now Japan.
I'd really that would be the last thing that I'd really like to do.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
You mentioned to me one time years ago that you were planning on stopping wrestling after a couple of shows. I think it was like 2016.
It was. Maybe? It was like it was May of 2016.
Why were you thinking of stopping, and why didn't you? And thank you for not.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Man, I was a mess. Depression is a very real illness. I think it could be talked about in the same vein as Alzheimer's, cancer, ALS. It hits everybody differently. For me, I just didn't know what resources were available to me, and then I eventually sought counseling, and then I eventually sought medication, recently increased the dosage of that medication, going to soon return to counseling. It's just one of those things, like, it's a serious illness. So I was unwell. So I thought that would be a good route to take. But I really love wrestling, you know.
You think it helps you with it?
You know what? Now, absolutely. Back in the day, I think I just let wrestling work me too much. Yeah. I think I put too much negative headspace into it rather than just grinding and working hard to be successful. Yeah. But now, yeah, wrestling only gives me positivity because that's all I allow it to give.
Mm-hmm. Great answer.
And I truthfully hope that I can maybe be an example to young guys who might suffer from the same illness. You know, don't let wrestling make you an unhappy person. And if you need anything, man, just talk to me. I might be able to help. I don't know.
What does the future hold for the American Patriot? I asked you this off camera. Is it your Facebook page is just Patriot? Are you Patriot, American Patriot?
I don't know. I just thought Patriot would be cool, just to kind of shorten it a little bit. The American Patriot in major markets, it's a little bit hokey.
Yep.
Like if I go to Moncton or Halifax or even, depending where. It's just like the American gimmick. It's like that doesn't really resonate well with smart mark shows, so to speak.
Yep.
If I go to Dingwall or fucking Digby, then I am wearing my red, white, and blue singlet, fucking American flag sticking out of my ass, fucking marching to the ring to fucking, whatever American music I'd fucking choose. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
100%. What does the future hold?
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember you asked me this question in December of 2014, and I said, I don't know, maybe I'll kill myself. Well, that's not going to happen.
Good. Good.
That was a heavy one. No, man. Good things, dude. I'm 31 years old. I'm financially stable. I've got savings. I've got a lot of the material possessions and wealth that I've always sought. Mm-hmm. So when you have money, you're automatically happier. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's true. But I don't know. Practically, I'm okay. Physically, I'm great. Mentally, I'm working on it. I'll still keep wrestling. Will I go back to the UK? Probably. I'd like to get to Japan. With no contacts really, like to set that up, it's kind of hard to...
Brody Steele's.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah,
Jimmy Suzuki or whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe,
you just haven't asked.
I just haven't asked.
Yeah.
He's done an awful lot for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like I don't want to ask and ask and ask and ask. I want to let him know, like, I appreciate that. Like, Of course he knows that I appreciate everything that he's done.
Yeah.
I just don't want him to feel like all I do is ask.
Yeah.
I could ask, but I don't know, man. If you see this, and you want to, great. I'm not going to... I just don't want to bother you, dude. That's a goal of mine. I just haven't been putting... There's other irons in the fire. Mm-hmm. What's next? I don't know. Hopefully good stuff. I suspect good stuff. I'm simply working on my happiness and my wellness and trying to project that onto others as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've known you for a long time, since way before you started wrestling, and this is probably the best I've seen you. Like, I've seen you grow up from... How old were you in, 2002?
Like 14.
Like 14. I've known you since you were 14. And I've seen you grow up from a teenager to become a successful man now. You live in this... I've been in places you've lived before. To see you grow from that to this is amazing. Like, for me, you've definitely put in the hard work. You've had your ups and downs. This is definitely the best and happiest I think I've seen you ever. And it's definitely the best. I think that wrestling wise, everything is doing really well for you. And I'm so happy to see all of that for you, because you deserve it. You honestly do. You've worked hard. You've been through a lot, and now it's all starting to pay off. You have this nice new house. You have your brand new, or you have your truck. You manage a store of a very successful chain all across the country. I mean, from my opinion, you're doing great, and you should be happy and you should be proud of yourself.
Thanks, man. That's really nice. Sometimes it's hard to see yourself like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Do you have any closing comments for any fans, friendly? I have such a hard time saying that every time. I gotta change it. Friends, family, or fans that might be watching this?
Family. My mom's the greatest person in the world. My grandmother's the second greatest person in the world to me. Friends. Hey. And fans, I said this once 5 years ago. I'll say it again. Thank you. Thank you so much. You give me the opportunity to do what I love. It's a concentrated effort from myself, promoters, but if there was nobody in the crowd watching and enjoying it, thank you for taking in this content. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you can, see what I do and realize what I'm trying to do as something different, and I hope you're entertained by it. If not, say it. Cool. But I truly hope, I'm making a real effort because I want you guys to experience something that you might not see at any other part of the show. So, thanks again for facilitating the ability for me to perform. One of my cats was just eating garbage.
Do you have anything else you'd want to mention? Or where can we see you in action next first?
1st of March in Riverview, I'll be wrestling for UCW. And in the 2nd of March, I'll be wrestling in Halifax at the Forum for UCW. February 1st, there's a UCW VIP show in Spryfield. 2 of my students main eventing the title.
The 2nd, isn't it?
Is it the 2nd?
I think so.
Okay, let's review the calendar. It's the Saturday. Regardless, 2 of my students are headlining a show, and they have a storyline, and it's for a championship. Oh my goodness!
It's the 2nd.
It's February 2nd. Excuse me. I just get a little bit of a tingle and goosebumps. It's man, that's nice. That's real cool. So I know they'll do a great job. They did a great job last time. I watched it, and you're getting to see some really, really cool things from people. They get the opportunity to go out and kind of express themselves and put on good shows, man. So just good vibes, bro.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out, inviting me into your home, your lovely home, to do this interview with me. I really appreciate it. And one last question. What did it feel like when they rubbed Kurt Angle's autograph off of the WWE Undisputed Championship for the Wrestling Reality Tour?
Context, the Wrestling Reality Championship is a WWE replica belt that I was given as a Christmas gift one year. Kurt Angle's my all-time favorite, and I had him sign it. And then they rubbed it off to use it as the championship belt for TV. I don't care, man. It's all good. I hope Kurt Angle doesn't regret the 3 seconds that he took to sign it, because that's been negated.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.